Welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast. PrideOfDetroit.com, Pride of Detroit on Twitter, Pride of Detroit on Facebook. You know where to find us live now on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit and on YouTube at youtube.com/at Pride of Detroit, PrideOfDetroit.com on X, Pride of Detroit on Blue Sky. I've said it before. You know where to find us. We're coming to you live at yet another Lions victory. The Lions got back to the winning ways. Now at 13-2, so we just keep racketing up the most wins in a Lions season each time we seem to do one of these. And a little bit of extra, because we'll talk a little bit later about the help the Lions got in this game. But the important part is that the Lions smoked the Chicago Bears. And in a Christmas miracle, there were no significant injuries charted during the course of Sunday. Rapping on wood that nothing comes out on a Monday, seeing how this stuff goes. But hey, we're in the season of giving. We're going to give you a great damn podcast talking about the Detroit Lions and the NFL and everything else you, as the Detroit Lions fan, need. I am Chris Perfett, the adequate host at Chris Perfett on Twitter, Perfett on Blue Sky. And joining me, as always, is Jeremy Reisman, the fearless leader at Detroit on Lion on X. Jeremy, how are we on this wonderful holiday season?
Great. I mean, listen, things were obviously pretty dark pretty much all of last week. It got a little bit better as the week went on, but the Lions get back to their winning ways. They look more like themselves than they have in really a couple weeks, and that sends us into the holiday season feeling pretty good, with, again, the Lions having their own destiny in their hands with a clinching scenario for the number one seed in the NFC as early as next week. So have to feel pretty darn good about that.
Lions opened up that advent calendar on a couple days and found, first off, 2 turnovers from the Chicago Bears and then a little help from the Washington Commanders. So shout out. To help break all of that down and more as we talk about this Lions victory, Ryan Matthews at Ryan_POD. Ryan's got his whiteboard really well dolled up for the holidays here. I believe, is that Simpson wearing a Naruto headband behind you?
You'd have to ask my students, but we're on break, so I'm technically off the clock, but I'm on the clock talking about the Lions' 13th win of the regular season, the most they've ever had in a single season, and it's still not enough to clinch the division or the NFC.
That's fine.
Go figure.
I think the Lions like having this fire under their ass the entire time.
I don't.
I'm sure. I know you don't, but I'm just saying, I'm sure if you ask Dan Campbell, he seemed more excited than anything to get out there after that Buffalo Bills loss. And, from appearing on 97.1 radio in Detroit to every other time he got in front of a microphone, it felt like the Bills loss was exactly what he needed to start to really kick his ass into gear, talking about we were, living high and I believe making some board ops life hell, dropping some F-bombs on FCC-regulated radio and other things. But he seemed ready to come into this game and really put the Chicago Bears to task, Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're kind of right. Like, he certainly loves the struggle, right? That's part of the fun for him, and he masterfully uses it, right, to motivate his team. And Not that I would ever accuse this team of getting complacent or even thinking about getting complacent, but with the Vikings right on their heels, with the Eagles right on their heels, it certainly adds a level of urgency that Dan Campbell can weaponize, and I think we saw that today. And it's not like the Lions were amazing and they absolutely crushed the Bears. Didn't really feel that way necessarily, but the offense was very much back to the basics of what they do well. The offensive line was dominating. The run game was dominating. They really could do anything they wanted offensively, and that's how they're going to win football games moving forward. And yes, it's the Chicago Bears, and yes, they've been an absolute mess all season, but in particularly after they fired Matt Eberflus. But I don't care. I don't care who it is across from the Lions. Like, I want to see them dominate football teams, and that's what we got today.
I think I had a little sympathy for them because at this point, just watching a team die over and over. Bears fans probably don't care. They're going for a higher draft pick and hoping all the Ben Johnson mentions on the broadcast means something. But at the same time, watching more of their O-linemen getting carted off felt kind of oddly familiar for the Lions' own woes this year so far. either way, the Lions dominated them on a very bagged up offensive line. Still having trouble getting to Caleb Williams, Ryan. But yes, the story, I think, is the Lions offense getting back to 34 points. Jared Goff, 336 yards in this game. But also, really, the Lions rushing attack kind of back to not missing a step. You're still not with David Montgomery, and there's no real second option like right behind him right now, in spite of a couple Sione Vaki catches, I believe. But Jahmyr Gibbs, of course, carrying the day, about 110 yards on 23 carries and a touchdown. But there was definitely that touchdown took. Look, I think after they called him out of the end zone on the half-yard line, it took them 3 tries to get in, whereas it felt usually it would be automatic when Montgomery would be in those positions. So there's a few growing pains to be done, but either way, the Detroit Lions run game is still operational.
And I mean, let's not bury the lead. 5 catches for 143 yards. Jamison Williams with, I don't know, the game of his career. If you kind of like blink your eyes and forget about the NFC Championship game from a year ago, but like, I don't know, like if this guy heats up and if he's the big play monster that he can be, I mean, it is the thing that's going to take this offense to the next level, because I know we're going to eventually talk about the defense. I don't think that there was a ton that happened today that washed away my greater concerns about the defense. It was definitely a step in the right direction. There were some micro things that happened, but by and large, this team's going to win by scoring points, and they did that today. I mean, Jack Fox wasn't on the field until a few minutes left in the fourth quarter to finally get some work and earn his paycheck. But
by the way, once again, fighting that dome team,
right.
What can they do in the cold weather? And they certainly aired it out.
There was someone on ESPN who this morning, I don't remember who it was, called the Lions a dome team. And it's like, are you paying attention to this team at all? For one, they haven't lost on the road yet. They're undefeated on the road. Their 2 losses came in a dome. 2, they're extremely physical. They can run the football. That is the definition of a team that can win on the road in the conditions. They've now done it twice in Green Bay, in Chicago. And listen, like, there's a small chance that they have to go on the road a lot here in the playoffs. And they're kind of flexing that muscle right now. They're strengthening that muscle right now. And so, the going on the road narrative, the conditions thing like that was always something that I thought was overblown with Jared Goff in particular, and it's certainly not emblematic of who this team is right now.
Yeah, and another thing that I really loved about the passing game is that everybody was involved, right? Like J-Mo had a huge game, right? But Amon-Ra was making some incredible, vital, critical plays, right? The screenplay for the touchdown, how does he get in the end zone? The 3rd and 18 he converts, or the 3rd and 17 he converts. I mean, how? Right? Sam Laporta on the Stumble Rooski that we have to talk about. Ben Johnson's greatest trick play that he ever pulled over, somebody else's eyes. And lo and behold, he didn't do it just because the Bears owners were in attendance. But that's the thing. That's the thing that I really loved about this game, is that everybody was invited to have some fun against the Bears defense. And, the running game, Jeremy, I know that was kind of a concern of yours going into this game.
Yeah.
The Lions had stumbled a little bit, and not only had they stumbled, but you're without David Montgomery, and Jahmyr Gibbs is awfully lonely back there on Instagram. Looked great, right? Like I'm pretty excited that 32 carries for 146 yards. That's right at home.
Right. It's exactly what what was needed. I think it obviously helped the Lions have a balanced attack that let them essentially, again, do anything they wanted. Now, again, if you want to put the proper performance in its context, the Bears didn't have Gervin Dexter in this game, probably their best interior lineman. They're already missing Andrew Billings, who definitely is their best defensive lineman. He's out for the year. He's been that way. But again, you line him up against.
I think left this game.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they had further injuries to their O-line as this game went on, too.
Well, that was offensive, but I was talking defensive line. But either way, the point being that you go up against who you go up against. And if this was a matchup that favored the Lions and they took advantage of it, right? Like that's what you do. You don't complain. You don't throw an asterisk because they were injured or whatever. You roll with it, and you're happy when you succeed at something you should succeed at. And so I don't think we should asterisk it or anything like that. The Lions run game is back, and that's great news because they're going to need it moving forward quite a bit. And, David Montgomery seems like he'll be there at some point during the playoffs if the Lions get to the divisional round. Hopefully they'll start at the divisional round. I would love that. But in the meantime, I think the Lions are going to be okay.
Do we want to do game balls with this at all, or should we just, before, do you want to do game balls on this before we start talking about some guys who kind of stepped up? I feel like there's like two ways I want to do it: game balls to certain guys, and also like guys we haven't seen much of who have stepped up too. Because I've got one guy at least on my slate, but
then just talk about him. Yeah, go for it.
All right. Well, I mean, it's just this entire season seems to be just testing how deep the Lions are, and as long as I can remember, Jeremy Ryan is like it always felt like the Lions never had this kind of depth to really go at a lot of things. And the Lions really struggled to get to Caleb Williams, who is slippery like an eel and was running out there as if he has been running like an entire season without an operating offensive line blocking for him out there. And it was frustrating. The Lions, I think, at the end of the day, got 5 QB hits on him and racketed 2 sacks. Al-Qadim Muhammad, once again, with one of those sacks. But
big one.
First off, while I'm talking defense, Ifeatu Melifonwu getting himself a sack coming back after all he's been through out there. It is, we keep talking about how the Lions are kind of getting reinforcements on the defense as this is going along, as they are trying to, make chicken salad out of the other chicken byproduct. And having Iffy back on the field, having him producing a tackle for loss and a sack in this game does feel like, oh, hey, yeah, the Lions are starting to, it's not going to be what it was before literally every game since the Cowboys game where they've been losing a player on defense, but it does feel like, hey, we're starting to get some of the old familiar playmakers back. And Iffy being out there is a great sign of things. Onwuzurike, kind of in the same boat. I know he racketed a tackle for loss in this as well, and he's trying to step up in the place of Aleem McNeil in the interior along with DJ Reader to just try to make this interior pressure still happen. And I didn't really see either of them really flinching at the end of the day from that task.
Let's stick with the secondary because I think that was a huge question going into this game is how were they going to respond to losing Carlton Davis for essentially the rest of the season. And there were so many different options out there, and it seems like what they mostly ran with was let's throw Meek Robertson on the outside, and then let's put Brian Branch at the nickel, and that means getting Iffy out there a fair share. I mean, Iffy played a ton in this game, and some good, some bad, some very familiar stuff out there with, he probably rushed the passer, I would say probably close to 10 snaps in this game, which is a lot for a safety nickel, but it was mostly effective in at least making Caleb Williams uncomfortable, which is what you want to do with a young quarterback. Unfortunately, he was also largely responsible for the touchdown at the end of the half where Terrion Arnold bid on the double move, and Iffy was just of no help as the deep safety on that side of the field. So up and down, but that was kind of the story of the secondary the entire game, right? Like everyone, it seems like in that secondary made a big play and then also gave up a big play or two. Terrion included, Brian Branch very much included, who had 10 solo tackles on the day. Like that's both a good and bad thing. For a guy who plays as much close to the line of scrimmage, it's mostly a good thing, but you never really want anyone in the secondary to be your leading tackler. But anyways, my point being, Dan Campbell said something that really resonated with me after the game, and he's like, defensively, that performance isn't going to be good enough for the Vikings. It's not going to be good enough for the Rams, the Bucks, like all these other teams in the playoffs, but it was a step in the right direction, and we're learning how to deal with this defense as it is right now. Like that is what these next 2 weeks are, is like we're entering a new era of this defense that isn't going to have this guy, that isn't going to have that guy, that isn't going to have that guy, and we are learning how to manage that right now. And today was a step in the right direction. Today was a data point. Okay, we know what we need to work on. We know what works, what doesn't work, and we're going to move on from there. And so Iffy being a part of this secondary is probably going to be something that continues moving forward. We didn't see any Emmanuel Mosley in this game, which was mildly disappointing, but probably not all that surprising. But like they're going to continue to adjust and build and get guys back. Alex Anzalone is going to be back before you know it, right? Ennis Rakestraw is going to be back, and maybe he's going to have some sort of factor moving forward. But I just thought listen, like 17 points allowed is pretty darn good. Were you helped by some turnovers? Yes. Were you helped by the Bears being, desperate at the end and having to go for it on fourth down instead of kicking some field goals? Although they did choose to kick a very dumb field goal in this game. But hey, you know what? The ghost of Matthew Eberflus is still there. Either way, I thought that
to be fair,
was a step in the right direction. Is basically what I'm saying here, and they're going to continue to move in that direction, I believe.
And to be fair, 3 of 4 on fourth down is something to be worked on as well.
Sure.
The Bears were able to convert 3 fourth downs in this game, Ryan. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, also look some of the other concern, right? You lose Lee McNeil, and you wonder how is the team going to respond when it comes to run defense. Again, the Chicago Bears, as Jeremy said, you can only go up against who is lined up across from you. It's not the best rushing offense, but 17 carries for 59 yards. 6 of those carries, 34 yards, were Caleb Williams. The traditional running backs, DeAndre Swift, 9 carries for 20 yards. Roshan Johnson, 1 carry for 3 yards. So 10 carries for 23 yards. That's a pretty good data point, and I'm happy with it. I want to see a better running attack, like the San Francisco 49ers. Granted, they don't have their top players, but it's Kyle Shanahan, and if running backs truly don't matter, then let's see how they go up against a running back and whoever they throw out there, because I know they're about
down
depth.
to like their 7th running back or something.
Right.
Who is this? I think they're. I don't even. Deebo Samuel was their co-leading running back along with Brock Purdy and someone named Patrick Taylor Jr.
Great name, but they're for somebody who stood out to me. I thought Jack Campbell had a really good bounce back game. Mm-hmm. He was all over the place making plays, had a pass deflection. I thought he was much better in run defense. I'm patiently waiting for Alex Anzalone to come back and relegate Ben Neiman to the practice squad. I like it. It's going to be such a huge upgrade, and I think
it's coming soon. By the way, I think Alex Anzalone is coming very soon. I've
Which
seen him in the locker room
fantastic.
a couple times in the past week or two, not wearing anything on his arm.
Let's move.
I think he might return to practice this week. I'm just going to throw that out there. I think he might return to practice this week.
God, that would be spicy, especially if he's ready for the Vikings game. Let's move to the offense for a second. Again, another huge day for Jared Goff, a huge day for Jameson Williams. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I believe, entered rarefied company in this game as well. Several stats were flashed on the screen about the kind of company he's keeping in terms of overall yards and things. But, I will tell you, the guy who was probably most impressed with is a rookie.
The dirtbag himself.
The dirtbag himself, who, by the way, apparently the night before this game changed his PFP on X too. And if you're a nerd like me, you will appreciate this. Fade Routha Harkonnen, and after the game posting a gif of Fade Routha just screaming in rage and hatred and just battle lust. Christian Mahogany, who Graham Glasgow was he a late scratch for this game? I believe this was.
He was dealing with an injury all week, and he was questionable, but he traveled with the team and just couldn't make it.
Either way, I know one of the narratives we had coming into this game after the Bills game was kind of some new struggles for the offensive line. And again, we're grading on the curve of the Bears, but for a rookie to step in and make his first start at left guard, he was moving the line pretty well out there. He was having some good jump off the line to attack the defense that was assigned to him. And I'll be curious what his grades are after this, but I was very impressed with Christian Mahogany's standing. And depending what happens with the offseason and how they continue to handle the line between Kevin Zeitler and Graham Glasgow, if Mahogany can stack a couple more games like this before the end of the season, if he gets more chances to play, then look, I think we've talked a lot about how the Lions deal with their linemen, both D-line and O-line projects. At Manu, Mahogany, Broderick Martin. This one felt like a win in the column for Mahogany, to be sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were excited for this game just for him, right? Just to watch him. I think most people thought the Lions were going to win this game, but this was an opportunity to see what Mahogany has, and I think expectations were pretty high for him, right? He was a guy that I think a lot of people viewed as a day 2 pick, and the fact that he fell all the way to the 6th round was like, oh, the Lions got a steal. This guy could start. He was more pro ready than those developmental guys, right? He played in a similar system at Boston College. He fits what the Lions want in a mauler, in a dirtbag, in a run blocker. And listen, live viewing is always tough with offensive linemen, so I can't say for sure he was great or he was terrible. But I can say with fair certainty that I didn't notice him out there in a negative way, which is exactly what you want as an offensive lineman. So pretty eager to dig into his tape, but the fact that the Lions were able to keep Goff, basically untouched most of this game, the fact that they were able to rush for almost 5 yards a carry without, basically they didn't skip a beat without Graham Glasgow is great. Now, I'm not going to overreact to one game and say, well, okay, now Mahogany's the starter. He took it from Graham. Yeah. I don't think we're there yet. And I think the Lions are probably playing it uber conservative with Graham because they probably trust him and they want him to make.
And they're going to want him healthy for these last couple games too.
Exactly. But it certainly is a little bit of a relief knowing that Mahogany can go out there and play in a pinch. And let's also not forget that he was playing right guard a couple weeks ago when Zeitler got injured, right? So now you have a guy who can play both sides too. So that's a pretty big luxury to have at this point, considering most teams don't have 5 starting offensive linemen.
Yeah. In training camp, I think the biggest concern amongst Lions fans was probably offensive line depth, right? Yep. I mean, fast forward 4 months and the defense has, 100 people on IR and nobody's really concerned about that. But seeing Colby Sorsdal inactive on game day week after week after week, and then you have a guy like Christian Mahogany who I think you want to talk about training camp, evaporated from almost anybody's even imagination because he's away from, the team for so long with mono. And it's like, cool. Like he gets this opportunity. I think that's one of the things I was most excited about. Like, I'm glad they played it conservative with Graham. I'm right there with you, Jeremy. I don't think that he has taken a spot from Graham by any means, but it's nice to know that they have somebody who won't leave him in the dark, so to speak,
For those at home not watching on the video, Ryan's Ryan goes to the teachers. This is at the school you teach at, and the lights just went off. Hence the dark. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, nothing that'll leave you in the dark is Righteous Felon Craft Jerky and Meat Sticks, because it'll brighten your day up just fine, just like the lights were brightened for Ryan, because it's the jerky that fuels the Pride of Detroit POD cast, with each bag having 2 ounces of jerky with 16 to 20 grams of protein, and each meat stick they sell with 8 grams of protein. If it's good enough for us, it'll be good enough for you too. We swear by this stuff all the time. We love chewing on it. I haven't had some in a little bit, so I need to put in a new order for Christmas time. I got my work and my other job bottles of wine, but that's only because the Righteous Felon didn't come in on time to gift people the gift of meat. But if you want to give the gift of meat, keep listening, because Righteous Felon is based in Westchester, Pennsylvania. They use locally sourced, all natural black Angus beef. They pride themselves on superior quality, revolutionary branding, and unique flavors that go beyond the stereotypical jerky offering. And here's that offer. POD15 at checkout will get you 15% off your order. You can use that promo code anytime and as much as you like. And every time you do, you'll help us out and you'll help yourself out, because you'll get meat. POD15 at checkout at righteousfelon.com. We come back on the Pride Detroit POD cast, some more player breakdowns, and also a big round of applause for one NFL team for finally handing a big, sexy red box with a nice ribbon on it for a Christmas gift to the Detroit Lions in the form of help for the 1 seed. That's next, and talking more about the rest of the race as the NFL season comes down to the wire. PODcast.
All right. We're on break, which means we get to talk to y'all, your live audience, and thank a bunch of people for all these alerts that keep popping up too. How we doing, first of all? I feel like the vibes of the chat are going to be a little bit better today, even coming off of that
just a little bit
frustrating Seahawks loss. when they were so close to winning. But
I would just like, I don't know. I am of the belief that like this doesn't matter as long as you keep taking care of your business.
well, of course that's true. But it would also be very, very nice to have the 1 seed locked up before Week 18, so that you can kind of treat Week 18 as like,
God,
hey,
we got help from the Commanders today, and we're still demanding more.
Nobody's demanding anything. We're saying it would be nice.
Chris, it's the first help we've gotten in like 3 months.
The Lions have won 13 games, and they're not even close to locking anything up.
Keep going at it. Keep that fire going.
All right. Before we get too far into it, let me thank all the followers and subscribers really quick. Goated, thank you for the follow on Twitch. Tracy Chapman, thank you for the subscription on YouTube. No Decaf, 5 months subscribed on Twitch. Says I dedicate this sub to the brave Mujahideen fighters of the Washington Commanders. Why did you make me say that? How dare you?
Because it's an old meme from what movie was that? I think that was a Rambo movie.
I believe you.
Yeah. Anyway.
Lost Ocean, thank you for the 45 months. Says F the Seahawks. F the Vikings. I mean, listen, I stand by if you are relying on the Bears or the Seahawks to do anything for you, you are asking for something you will not get.
Rambo 3, yes. I haven't figured out this Seahawks team all year, and every time I seem to watch them, like I am genuinely perplexed at how Geno Smith. I think I understand where the love for Geno Smith comes from, but also I have not seen it applicable anywhere this year at any point for anything I've watched. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but boy.
Yeah, I mean, I know Geno wasn't 100% coming into this game. That was part of the storyline. And I know Juice Tank's pointing out that 2nd and 10, the Vikings get sacked for a 10-yard loss, but it's a face mask. Okay, but also remember the game against the Rams where he was face masked in the end zone? It's a give and take kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
Arif was
face mask, by the way.
Yeah, but Arif's response was
right.
Arif's response was, "Holy shit! They actually called a face mask for once."
No,
I'm just saying, like,
right.
For everyone calling it unfair that they called a face mask, like to Jeremy's point,
the Vikings never get any calls. Let me know how many pass interference penalties they have against Justin Jefferson. Oh, we never get any calls.
I hate that like the Lions Seahawks relationship is like we're giving them everything, we're getting nothing in return. We get them into the playoffs in 2022. They give us nothing.
So they give awful relationship.
So is this like an abusive relationship with Mina Kimes? Is what you're saying?
No, not Mina. She's fine. She is. I guess she is the emblematic of the Seahawks giving back only through her to our podcast. That is the only transaction that is going in this direction.
And watercolor paintings.
True.
And I'll be honest, like it's nice talking to Mina, but I'd rather have the Seahawks win a freaking game. So
I'm with you.
Yeah.
With you.
This is I have a couple of Seahawks fans I work with, and this seems to be the state of the Seahawks where it's like every year it's like they're kind of good but not good enough to really win these games that actually matter to them.
They're not a good team right now. Like they just aren't.
It's been limbo for
offensive line is somehow 15 years running the worst offensive line in football. I don't know how they continue to plug resources into that offensive line, and it still stinks. And their defense is also like the Legion of Boom feels like it's 3 decades ago at this point. They're just not a good football team.
I just don't know how like they always have good draft picks, and then all of a sudden it's just like, yeah, but we're still looking at something that's just really middling at the end of the day. I don't know.
That Rams
they confuse me.
That division is the Rams. Like the Rams are on fire right now. The Seahawks are just inconsistent at best. So,
and the Arizona Cardinals got eliminated by the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
You want to talk about confusing team, Ryan. The Arizona Cardinals season is going to go down with what the hell were we thinking around that 4-game win streak? That this was I don't know what you justify the Arizona Cardinals stock in.
I mean, a lot of growth from Bryce Young after he got put in timeout.
No, I mean, yeah. Oh, yeah. You're talking Panthers. Yeah.
I'm talking Panthers. I mean, they've kind of been a fun, plucky team
No, they
for the past few weeks. I mean, they gave the Eagles hell. They nearly won that game. Beat the Cardinals.
Almost beat the Chiefs
they've gotten
and the Bucks.
exactly.
That's right.
Yeah. They've gotten exactly what they want. I think Panthers in this season is that now you're watching Bryce Young playing with more confidence, and you're still only like 4-11, so you're still going to have a high draft pick. And the teams in front of you are going to be like very quarterback needy. So you're going to have a pretty good pluck of what you want at the end of the day.
You also play in the NFC South, so that's always a good thing.
Yep.
True. Bucks are kind of okay. They're just, I mean, if there's a team that wants to complain about injuries as much as the Lions, they're pretty close.
I love the Bucks. They're my NFC South team.
Yeah. Baker Mayfield is very good.
I know that we could probably rewind the tape to when they were like 2 or 3 games under 500 and me being like, I still worry about them. Like they're going to be a playoff team.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, they're here. They're going to win the NFC South.
It
honestly feels like the NFC playoff picture is set. Like it's just the order. It's just the order at this point. Like Lions, Eagles, Rams, Buccaneers, probably
Commanders.
the 4 teams that are going to win their division.
Yeah.
The Vikings obviously could still jump the Lions. Then you have Vikings and or Lions, Packers, Commanders. I don't think the Seahawks are in. I don't think the Falcons are in. And those are the only 2 teams that are even eligible. Like it feels like we got our 7. It's just a matter of what order are they going to spit out at.
Feels like the Falcons will be slammed home next week. They're going on the road to the Commanders. And while they've taken the wrapping off of Penix, I don't know, Ryan. I can't say. I don't know if you watched this game. I had it on one of the TVs at work. I was not like, he's fine, but he's looking exactly like a rookie who's starting 14 games into an NFL season and played the Giants. Like the Falcons at one point, I believe the Falcons defense had more points than either the Falcons offense or the Giants offense.
I wonder if their head coach should have, I don't know, played that rookie quarterback in the preseason instead of not getting him any reps and then being a
Weirdo
prima donna about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Falcons.
Very odd team.
I mean, also like just
gonna...
like pull the plug on Kirk Cousins weeks ago. Why not? Like we saw the kind of writing on the wall with that. So
they're going to cut him before the roster bonuses now, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
That was the report.
Who's going to talk themselves into Kirk Cousins? Like, are there going to be 2 NFL teams that talk themselves into Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins next year? I want to know. I'm so curious. I'm so curious to who those 2 teams might be.
Better question for you, Ryan. Looking at the draft standing right now, the Raiders picked up a win and are celebrating in the locker room, which, very cool, and kind of ends maybe their hopes of landing Sanders and Sanders. But the Jets are not far off at 4 wins. I don't think they picked up a win today, did they?
They lost to the Rams.
They lost to the Rams. They lost to the Rams. So at 4-11 themselves, they could still be in shooting distance for one of these quarterbacks. And I guess the question is, I don't remember where I heard it. Maybe it was because I was listening to a radio show or something. But this question of this idea that if the Jets, it behooves the Jets to pick up a quarterback in this draft, and yet at the same time, like I guess the argument I was hearing is like, oh, Aaron Rodgers will be a good mentor to a rookie quarterback. But you guys have the same reaction I had hearing that. Like, I think history proves that that's a load of hog shit.
I wouldn't want Aaron Rodgers around my team facility, period, let alone the quarterback who's up next.
But like Aaron Rodgers' entire DNA is F the guy. I was told F the guy behind me by Brett Favre and F the guy behind me when I was in Green Bay. What do you think he's going to do in his final year with the Jets if they have a quarterback?
I'm just glad they keep on losing. What a great bit of AFC East enjoyment I've gotten out of that. The Tampa Bay Atlanta thing, I don't think is completely settled though. I know it seems like Tampa Bay for sure, but like
Atlanta swept them.
Atlanta swept them, right?
Right. Right. So that's a key tiebreaker. It's just a matter of, do I believe in Atlanta versus do I believe in Tampa Bay? I do not believe in Atlanta. I do believe in Tampa.
Tampa's remaining games, they're playing tonight against the Cowboys, and they have Panthers and Saints.
Plucky Panthers.
Yeah,
and
we'll see what the Saints. I mean,
come on.
Are the Saints
but
plucky?
But if
the Falcons have the plucky Panthers remaining too.
Yeah, and they have
the Commanders Commanders. It's over.
Is there any? I don't think there was a lot today about the Commanders where I was like, I don't know. Like there's like good and bad to them, right? Like Devonta Smith, catch a football and the game's over.
True, but right? I'm glad you didn't.
Kenny Pickett almost won that game. Little baby Kenny Pickett, baby hands. Sorry.
There is something to the fact that
he's a man.
Jalen Hurts left this game very early after what looked like he had been pile drived.
Kenny Pickett has a fiance who works for Goldman Sachs.
This is far too much talk about teams I don't care about. I want to be clear here. We almost talked about the draft for a team that isn't the Lions. And I
steered the conversation away from the draft.
I haven't even scratched the surface of the alerts yet. What are we doing?
Well,
you said it was a break.
Ruby is starting to actually interrupt my podcast side, so I'm going to go feed him. So maybe you can get through it, and then
I will try to
some
get
more
through
football topics.
All right, let me get through it. Athena Morehouse, thank you for the follow on YouTube. AP Durag, thank you for the 9 months. Says let the Kool-Aid flow. Luxtables, 24 months, says happy 2-year anniversary. POD. F the Bears. Can I get some FTBs in the chat, please? Luxtables, that was just you. I read you a second time. G Money, 21 months, says 13 wins. Let's go. Lion's Blood, 41 months, subscribe to the channel, says Stumblebum Play of the Year. We are not calling it the Stumblebum. I don't care if that's the actual name of it. We are calling it the Stumblerooski. It's way better. Stumblebum doesn't even sound good.
No.
Ben Johnson, you stick to designing plays. We'll stick to naming them. And I should also not take credit for it because it wasn't my idea, but
I was gonna say, like, are we executive producing his plays?
It's right.
He's the talent. We're just packaging it.
But listen, you heard the quotes. Like the original version of that play was let's have Jared Goff actually fumble the football, and then Jared's like, how about I just stumble? Like that doesn't sound like a safe play. Good note, Jared. That let's not purposely fumble the football and just assume that everything's going to be okay.
So everybody who wants to hire Ben Johnson, look what you could potentially be getting in bed with. He doesn't come with Jared Goff.
That's right.
Who can talk him out of bad ideas.
Yeah. Can Caleb Williams? Does he have the authority? Does he have like the vigor to step in? What is this?
He does. That's what Caleb Williams started after the draft. This was the whole bear down thing.
Oh.
He does this little claw.
Oh, I don't think he has the intestinal fortitude to stand up to Ben Johnson at this point in his career, where Jared Goff can.
They don't have the rapport.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, Jared Goff and Ben Johnson built this thing from the ground up.
That's right. And that's impossible in Chicago, so don't go there.
Notes.
The Dizzy Wizard, thank you for 13 months. Subscribe to the channel. Juice Tanks, 10 months, says thanks for all you do. Hey, thanks for the support, buddy. Space Kataz, 35 months. I don't know if I've ever acknowledged that that's an Aquatine reference, and I appreciate it, but I do appreciate it. Space Kataz says happy sub-anniversary from Puerto Rico. Vacation. Oh, look at you. I'm going to be headed down to some sunnier places in about 12 hours, so I'll wave across to you from the ocean. Tom Cruise's dad, thank you for the 18 months subscribe to the channel. Woodchuck under 100 bits says, my 9-month pregnant girlfriend, quote, how much do you think it hurts the other team to know that our defense is so injured and they still can't beat us? It's a great point.
Dude, I mean, there's a lot about, the coaching by Chicago. Poor Thomas Brown. He's
in over his head. This
is not what he signed up for.
The defensive coordinator is way over his head. They're making, I mean, there were at least 3 or 4 decisions where I'm like, what are you doing here? Why are you kicking a field goal to make it from a 20 to a 17 point game? Why is that important to you in the fourth quarter?
Why you need to score 3 times? Why are you not attempting a field goal? Or like, why are, I mean, I know when Caleb Williams walked off the field, like Thomas Brown was basically like, you can't take that sack, I'm sure. He's like,
Right.
you just can't do that. But yeah, I mean, just what a tire fire the Bears are.
Yeah.
And it was plus money at the beginning of the season to say that they weren't going to make the playoffs.
There was a lot of people
cashed
who were
that a couple
picking
weeks ago,
Bears. There were a lot of people who were picking Bears in the upset for this game.
But the thing that's crazy is that they were 4-2, and now they're
I know,
4-11.
But like, I mean, I feel like from the Bears fans around my life, they even thought that was crazy because they're like, if you watch this team, they don't have any fight left in them at all.
Who was picking the Bears? Because Lions fans weren't picking the Bears. Bears fans weren't picking the Bears.
National people. I think
That's
a
why
lot
you
of
don't
national
listen to
people
them.
writing. Okay, whatever. But like, you're too close to the subject sometimes. So it's like, whatever. What are we gonna do? Are we just gonna do this thing where we're just mad at anyone who doubts anything anywhere? Like, look,
No,
if you
I just
weren't
think
paying
national
attention,
people don't have it's impossible for them to
okay.
have the level of depth of knowledge that local people who cover the team do.
okay, but then sometimes if you're too close to it, like you end up bitching and moaning too much about it. Or what are we doing? Like Mina Kimes is a national person. Like we're just going to.
Did she pick the Bears?
I don't know. My point, and I'm trying to get to the point, is like that because if you weren't paying attention and like did seem like a classic place where if a team is finally stumbling, that they will continue to have stumbles, and instead it just kind of goes the other way. But like I don't know.
Team, yeah, but that's the thing. Like that doesn't happen with this team. This team has not lost back-to-back games in 2 years, over 2 years. Anyone who's like, well, the inertia of the team is because they lost this game, like they're gonna downslide now. Like they're just not paying attention to this team. That's not what happens here.
I mean, the Chicago Bears are the perfect example of just how to not take care of a coach and a quarterback. I mean, like, period, point blank. Like, not understanding how to, I guess, let me rephrase that to say, they are proving they are a masterclass in setting up a quarterback, a young quarterback that they draft in the first round to continuously fail because they can't get the head coaching hire right. The best head coach they've had in my lifetime is Lovie Smith. And they wanted to run him out of town, right?
And I can't really do this thing where I'm seeing some people in chat talking about like body language on Caleb Williams. That shit doesn't matter at all, first off, number one. Number two, it's like, don't you kind of feel like he's got a point there with some of that body language where it's like, just what the fuck is going on? I'm not playing well. I'm running for my damn life all the time. Can't take the sack there. Like, yeah, your body language would be bad too. Like,
Moldy
I didn't have fun
Cornbread.
with him looking awful at the end of it. What's that?
Moldy Cornbread said, which, by the way, that name has aged really well for
I love that.
for a Twitch name where you tune into a Lions show.
Mike Ditka. Wow.
But to say, do I look old enough to have watched Mike Ditka?
I'm surprised you were around for Lovey, to be quite honest.
Goo goo gaga. Like I kind of remember
the
Rex
ESPN
Grossman.
analyst.
I kind of remember Kyle Orton.
Kyle Orton is deathly words.
Yeah. Ryan wasn't around in 1992. Spoiler alert.
I was for a year. So you know what? I guess I've been fact checked, but I don't remember much of the Mike Ditka era.
All right, let me get through.
Oh yeah, sorry. Go on.
No,
we'll get through the alerts, then I'll ask my question.
Captain James Kirk, 44 months, says, such a great bounce back win. Really wish Seattle would have pulled it out. Feels wrong rooting for the Packers next week, but here we are. Karen, 28 months, says, Stumblerooski, my favorite play of the year. It's up there on a very long list of awesome plays. Ryan in Toledo, 28 months, says FTP, except please beat the Vikings next week. Listen, you guys got to get on board. It'll be okay. You can root for them for 1 week. It'll be okay. T Parsing for the follow. Nick the Greek, 100 bits, says Dan Campbell is going to put a $10,000 secret bounty on TJ Hawkinson's ACL in the final game of the season, just like last year. Nick, don't even put that out there.
Now someone's going to clip that, and it's going to end up on Vikings Twitter.
Yeah. Jay Bagels, thank you for the follow. Damian Smith, £5 donation super chat through YouTube says, is it true that there are unlimited practice squad elevations in the playoffs? Go Pack Go. Thanks for everything. So the answer to your question is, as of at least last year, it was yes. And by unlimited, that means one person can get elevated as many times in the playoffs. That does not mean you can elevate your entire practice squad for a game. You still only get 2 per game, but one person can be elevated 3 or 4 times. I believe that's true. I have to double check that, but that was true last year. I'm pretty certain. So any player that had hit like Jamal Adams, I believe has 2 elevations. I believe that gets reset to 0 or infinite once you get to the playoffs. I'll have to double check that though, so don't take me 100%. Owen, thank you for the follow on Twitch. Akumizer, 19 months, says Olaf from Panama. FTB. Need some more FTBs in the chat, please. Nick the Greek, 100 bits. Hold on, let me read this one in my head first.
Always good to proofread some of this stuff.
This one's okay. 100 bits says, now that the Bears have fired their head coach 1 year after drafting a new quarterback, they will wipe their front office, let Ernie Accorsi's reanimated corpse pick their next general manager and head coach. It's the, quote, William Clay Ford style of management. A little self-deprecation is healthy. I'll allow it. Kevin James Kirk, 15 bits, says, I'm not saying Caleb should be criticized, but his body language absolutely matters. The Bears are breaking him. They need to get their next hire right, or they're in huge trouble. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of with Chris on this one, where like I'm not that like I almost want my quarterback or at least some of the players on there to wear their emotions on their sleeves, because that means
he cares.
They care. Right, exactly. It means they care. Like I understand there's definitely something to Dan Campbell's philosophy of like steady, right? Whenever you lose or win, you got to be steady. You got to be level-headed. That's one of Jared Goff's superpowers, no question. But it's not like there aren't great quarterbacks that do a little bit of this, right? Like Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, like you see them emoting all game, up, down, happy, pissed. Like it happens. And so I do feel sometimes that when a team is bad or a quarterback isn't playing as well as you want him to, every little thing they do gets nitpicked and says, this is why that's happening.
We kind of did this a little bit in his final year at USC, but also like this is the most in a single season of football anywhere that Caleb Williams has lost. And like, that's kind of hard for anyone to really start taking that. And the reason he is emoting and like, is also that he's got to be like upset with himself too.
Sure.
Like he's bearing a lot of that load probably on himself too. And I also just really don't want to get into this sometimes, because I know some people, some fans, even if they don't want to do it, are still kind of doing some weird masculine policing over like the fucking like fingernails and shit. Whether you want to admit it or not, that's still a factor on a lot of the critiques around Caleb Williams, that he's not masculine enough. And that's the kind of shit I despise. I despise with every fiber of my fucking being. Like, if you want to hate him, fine, but do it honestly. Be honest about it.
Yeah, there's something like very memeable about the way that the life just seems to leave his body after like some certain place where like
Now last game was very funny. I did that where he looked asleep on the you talk about Ryan, where he looked like he was asleep on the
I mean, like there's that, but even in this game, like there's some plays where like he ended up on his back and he's just like, it's like, is Caleb Williams knocked out or is he just like done with this season? Like, which again, he's a rookie.
Like DJ Moore is like, hey, I'm thinking about vacation, baby.
Yeah.
That was an amazing answer, by the way. I know Bears fans, like, I don't know if you saw this. So DJ Moore was talking about, like, you know, someone asked him a question, like, is it hard not to think about the offseason just given how tough this season has been? And he's just like, I've been thinking about my vacation a little bit. And it's like, listen, that's human nature. Like that's being real. Now, will, you know, media training tell you to say, hey, don't say that out loud? People are going to jump on you. Of course, that's what they don't want you to say, but like, that's kind of the truth.
I'm not saying you have to stop hating the Bears, but I do think that like Lions fans of all people, you should kind of know how things go when a season is really in the shitter like it is for the Bears right now.
Yeah.
And how that is internalized.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that is a great quote. That
what's that?
You're not going to have to punt much here. Caleb Williams to their new punter. Who they
that was
just a fun
in,
little
like, the fifth
thing
round or something.
Yeah.
That and wasn't it? It was the rookie offensive lineman.
Oh man.
Did you say something like that too?
He said something about like he doesn't have to worry about getting hit anymore or something like that. And he was
Oh
like
yeah.
he's been sacked like
Just
38
trying to
times
More than
over
any other
8 games or
quarterback.
whatever.
Yeah.
The but I mean I think there is something to like they they obviously have to get the next head coach right, because if they don't get the next
Yes.
head coach right, then all of a sudden, are you any different than the Jacksonville Jaguars
Can I raise
and
a
the
Or the
situation they're
Jets.
in?
Might I raise a question to you, Ryan? Much like how it felt like there was some behind the scenes that the NFL was trying to really twist the arm of the Chargers, that they were going to go out and get a big name like Jim Harbaugh because they really could not afford to really mess up another coaching situation for a Los Angeles-based team. Given the value of the Bears organization, do you think the NFL might have to step on the feet of the McCaskies and go like, you're hiring, like you're going to spend money on what it takes to get someone like Ben Johnson or Joe Brady, no matter whether you like it or not. Like you're not cheaping out on this.
I don't know. Can they do that?
They kind of did that with the Chargers.
Did they? That's. I don't
From
think that's a
people around
thing.
Los Angeles I've talked to.
No. I mean, I don't know. Like this league has seen so many highly drafted quarterbacks fail. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. Like if
You
the
at least
Bears are
want
going to
to.
be cheap, the Bears are going to be cheap. Because that's the thing, though. It's like they did it with Trubisky, and it's not like the NFL came in and did anything. And it's like they did it with Fields, and the NFL
I
didn't come in and do anything.
I think all you can ask is that you do the right choice by the process. Like Caleb Williams might never work out for the Bears, but you can at least say, all right, this was the top prospect out there. We did the right thing by taking him. Likewise, if you go after a Ben Johnson or Joe Brady, might not work out, but at least you did the right move by going after one of those guys.
Well, it's by the reports that are coming out. You know, there was a report from I don't know Pelissero or something saying that like Ben Johnson's kind of interested in the Bears job, and ESPN after the game says the expectation is that Ben Johnson will interview for the Bears job. Like, there's plenty of smoke there. It's probably going to happen. There will probably be an interview process. Does that mean they're going to hire him? No, not necessarily. Like, and I don't know. Like, is there evidence that the Bears process has been bad at any point? I don't know. But there's certainly evidence that the Lions were going through it, right? Like, in the past, they only interviewed a couple guys, and then they go through Ernie Accorsi when they're hiring the previous regime. I don't know if the Bears' process has been bad, other than the actual decisions they've been making, and that's you can't hold someone's hand through that part of it.
I mean, yeah, you can't like tell them no, don't trade up for Mitchell Trubisky. What are you doing?
I I think the big question is whether or not Ryan Poles survives at this point too.
But
And I'm
again,
at yeah.
what part of the process is that though? It's like, oh, like is that a good decision to like hit reset on the general manager again and the head coach? I mean, like I would agree that you definitely want those two guys on the same page, right? I mean, it's working out so well here in Detroit, but
But I don't think they've done well by that process up to this point. Eberflus was certainly not. Sounds like Virginia McCaskey was mostly picking the brain of Bill Polian for a lot of that, and was giving Ryan Poles a selection of coaches to like look to and talk to. So I don't know.
Yeah. Really quick,
yeah.
couple more alerts here, and then we can talk about whatever.
Yeah,
Joshua Mercer,
one thing to ask, but yeah.
100 bits says first Lions game with the kiddos today. It was cold, but they were all bundled up, had a blanket, and had a blast. It's awesome, Joshua. I'm glad you had fun. If you're still in the chat, I feel like we didn't get a lot of talk about it from the broadcast or from the beat. What was like the percentage of Lions fans there? I have to imagine probably pretty high.
sounded tilted. Like on third down for the Bears, oftentimes it was loud.
It looked like there were a lot of Lions fans out there, and Bears fans obviously probably selling their tickets at this point in the year too.
I can't imagine wanting to be out in 20, 30 degree weather and watching that football team.
Shout out to the guys wearing the bear trap hats, by the way.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, those were really cool. But it had to have been like a similar situation to Indy, right? It's like, well, just make a little bit of a drive because this ticket's going to be way cheaper and easier to get than one at Ford Field.
Yep, 100%. Last one from Nick the Greek. It says, I want a quarterback who has the courage to cry wet tears into his mother's bosom after he throws an interception.
Hey, man, we got to be vulnerable. Isn't that the therapy thing? Anyway.
70-30 Lions?
I don't think it was that much.
He was in the stadium.
I know. That seems... Wow. Wow. Holy boats if it is.
That's crazy.
Almost as crazy as going 9 straight games without throwing an interception or getting a win.
All of them. That's pretty crazy.
That's what I mean, man. That's the kind of hell he's in right now. Like, he had some very good scrambles, and to the point where I was getting very frustrated at Lions defenders not taking him down. And it's like, that's still, again, that's something new. I've got to imagine that's something new for him, where that's not enough to win games.
But Ryan held him under 20.
Man, they didn't use Gibbs enough.
If they would have used him in the fourth quarter, we would have hit on our one thing we think we know parlay.
And it would have been even closer if all the times that Kenny Albert identified Jamar Jefferson as Jahmyr Gibbs.
As Jamar Gibbs?
I'll give him at least a little bit of slack there, because the 28 and 26 are tough, and they both have dreads. Like, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Don't. I know exactly what you're doing with that look. All right, stop it.
I know.
Stop it.
I'm getting tired of discourse on broadcast crews. Everyone's bad. Whatever. Can I bring up a different question? And like, if you guys didn't watch it, you don't have to go along with me for this. And I'm kind of like, after this weekend, I feel like I've been on football overload a little bit, Ryan, because we've had so much football throughout all these days. Did you watch any of the college football playoffs?
Yeah, I watched all of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know this is maybe hard for some fans in here, but like, I took after the bitching and moaning of SEC people for about that Friday night, starting from like, I'd say the second quarter of Notre Dame, Indiana through SMU and Penn State. Like, I started to take great satisfaction watching Ohio State run Tennessee out of the shoe. But I think the big story is just a lot of blowouts, maybe home field being pretty big there. I don't know. Like, I was fine with them, but what'd you feel of the first year of these expanded playoffs?
They got to change the qualifications for who these 12 teams are, because but here's the reality of it. If you think this weekend was bad, wait until you see Texas versus Arizona State, an Arizona State team who got a bye. Or wait until you see Penn State versus Boise State. And there's nobody that loves Ashton Genty more than me. But if you're going to beat Penn State, you're going to spread them out and you're going to beat them like Oregon did. Or like how USC gave them fits. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that Boise State and Arizona State got byes, and there's teams like Ohio State that's running a buzzsaw through, I think they have to like reconsider and reconfigure everything. But also, I thought it was weird, Chris, to your point about like everybody freaking out about Indiana getting snow plowed and then being pretty
SMU
quiet,
throwing 2 pick sixes.
Yeah, or when Tennessee goes up north and it's like, oh, shocking, the team from the SEC that plays in warm weather all year can't handle playing in very frigid weather in Columbus.
Did you see them warming up without shirts? They were fine, Ryan.
Dude, so tough.
So tough. Grit, dude.
I hate
Grit
that
is going
look.
like this without a shirt.
Dude, I hate that look more than anything. Like, when you're out on the field in cold weather and warming up without a shirt on, like, you're just an idiot.
You know what that reminds me of?
You're waiting to get memed into oblivion, like Jeremy just did.
It reminds me of Matt Patricia being out in January practice with shorts. Real tough, dude.
Yeah. I mean, to your point though, Ryan, it's like also these teams, like, I don't know, Oregon's not going to get to play at home. Like I think the home games were fun, and now instead we have to placate the bowls who feel offended that we're not in them. Now Oregon, instead of having, hosting a home game and what could be an amazing atmosphere in Autzen, now plays Ohio State in a very neutral Rose Bowl.
Why can't we just take all the branding and put it like in Eugene? right? Like, can't we just why can't we just hold the Rose
because
Bowl in Oregon? Like,
I'm going to imagine it's just a law of what one of my bureaucracies just wanting they understand if they're out in the cold and not having their bowl games in their place, then it's just gonna all go tits up or something. But
they threw tradition out the window a long time
I
ago. Like,
understand,
you know what
but
I mean? Like,
these
I
are the
don't
ones
know.
who got on the boat, and they are very eager to make sure they're going to pull every string they can to not get off the boat. I don't know. I'm interested to see Cam Scatterbo go up against Texas. That would be a fun running matchup. He's kind of like a Genty. Um, I really like this Notre Dame defense. Like they've got at least 3 or 4 guys who are going to be on the NFL next year from that defense. Um, yeah, I don't know. My big thing
Mm.
was like I just don't want to hear from SEC fans about, oh, Alabama should have played and the South Carolina should be in this. Man, Tennessee looked lost in that cold. And like Indiana ran up against a good defense. And I'm just not going to hear it against teams that lose 3 games. Like Alabama lost to Vanderbilt. And I understand Vanderbilt's a better team this year and everything, but like you have 3 losses and one of them's to Vanderbilt. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Like I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the South, people from the South acting like they're the only ones who run the sport.
I know this is something that we can probably all agree on, Jeremy especially, but death to the NFL and college football being on the same day. And it's not just because it was them just, willy-nilly trying to be on Saturday. No, it's because they want to get in bed with Christmas Day. And Christmas Day and the NFL can buzz right off. I don't want it. I censored myself because I don't want to get too vulgar. But it is so annoying that they want to edge their way into every nook and cranny, including Christmas Day, where it's like, just let the NBA have that. Like the NBA is fledgling. They can't even figure out a way to make their product like halfway watchable. Like just let the NBA do that and stay away from Christmas Day and having to have teams play on Saturday so that you can get them the minimum 3 days off. Like what a dude. It's dumb. I hate it. It's stupid. I hate it. It's so dumb. And I hope it falls flat on its face because Netflix isn't ready to handle it. I hope Netflix and their infrastructure can't handle it, and it's awful, and nobody enjoys watching it.
I'm not going to watch it.
Like,
I'm not going to watch it.
I'm not
Chiefs
either.
are kind of in a Chiefs are kind of in the situation the Lions are now, where it's like what we were talking about, Ryan, about playing 3 games and 10. I think it's only 10 days for them. Like, because they're moving up to they're going from like what, a Sunday, a Thursday, and now a Wednesday game.
I mean,
same with the Texans.
It's garbage. It's
and the
stupid.
Steelers and Ravens. Like this is, yeah. By the way, Jeremy, did you realize? Did you see that these college football playoff games were being played on TNT as well?
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of weird thing the NFL has as power, where it's like ESPN and ABC didn't even want to like try going up against them on that day, so they just retreated out to TNT for a lot of these first round matchups, except for like Ohio State and Ohio State later at night. Ryan, like it's a mess. And like I believe are they going up against? I don't think they're going up against them on New Year's Eve, are they? Oh no. New Year's Eve's on like a Tuesday or something this year. Actually, never mind.
It is.
But
I'm shocked that they didn't try.
Yeah, to like go up against again, because I'm looking at like the second round of the college football playoffs, and I'm like, are they going to try to like stomp on? I think the Lions, I think, are actually playing. No, wait, yeah, no, that Monday Night Football. That's going to be going up against the Fiesta Bowl.
I know what I'll be watching.
Is that a playoff game?
No, yeah, for college football, yeah, Penn State, Boise State. I'm just saying, like, to Ryan's point, you've kind of spread so far out across there, you've not really taken any holiday off or any consideration for anything else on the calendar.
Nah, I'm going to boycott playoff games or the Christmas games. I am. Like, I've decided, and I know. Listen, I know it's not going to matter. I know the ratings are going to be great, assuming Netflix doesn't crap the bed, which is certainly possible.
For this.
Please, God, it would be the funniest thing.
I just don't.
What is with
like,
what is with the
there has to be a line. There has to be a line with scheduling these games, and I'm going to come at this from a very listen, I'm going to come from this from a media member standpoint. Like, I already sacrifice my Thanksgiving every year. Oftentimes, I'm sacrificing my New Year's. I don't need Christmas on top of that. I just don't. Like, it's bullshit. And I know that's not relatable necessarily because you guys are watching at home and you're by a TV probably anyways. But, like, people talk about how much of a pain it is for the players. What about the thousands upon thousands of people that are involved in the broadcast or the written word? Like, you're ruining their Christmas. Like,
or even all the people who work at Ford Field.
I mean,
right? Like everybody.
And listen, like, I also I want to also show a little bit of compassion for the real world, right? Because there are real world people who work real world jobs over Christmas, over holidays, over New Year. Like, I used to work at a dog daycare center. I used to manage a dog daycare center, and it's the worst time of year. I had to do an overnight New Year's Eve. Like, I know it sucks, and I'm not saying, well, now that I have a real job, you shouldn't make me do. Like, I understand this is coming from a privileged standpoint and all that, but you are creating a problem where it didn't need to exist.
Yeah, and these broadcasts are real jobs. Maybe you could say less about the people on air, but like for every person on air, there's a huge amount of people in production who are going to be working 8, 9, 10-hour days to make these productions happen. And speaking of that too, I just DM'd you both on Slack. The thing that really sticks out to me with what Netflix is doing too is also like just how many people they're throwing at the wall for these broadcasts as well. Seems just genuinely excessive.
I'm thankful that it's two
both McCourties
teams.
and both Eagles.
Yeah, no. Sorry.
It was 2022, right? Christmas happened to fall on a Sunday.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, because that was the Panthers game that everybody wants to forget about.
Yeah, that's when they started to inflict themselves upon Christmas because they realized they could start boxing out the NBA.
Yeah, but I get it. Like, the other thing to think about is that the holidays aren't a great time for everybody. You know what I mean? Like, there are plenty of people who have the opportunity to spend their time watching football. I think my big thing with it is I hate Thursday games. So I hate Thursday games. I hate having players play on short rest because I can never take anything away from Thursday football. There's players that are always getting hurt. Yep. It's not giving the players enough rest. Like, we talk enough about how the schedule needs to expand, and if it does expand, then it absolutely needs to have 2 bye weeks. Just football on short rest just isn't typically good football to watch. Like, there has been like lightning in a bottle with Thursday night football this year because think about all the years past. Awful. But they were getting a lot of bad matchups. I think they just lucked into having some good matchups this year that ended up delivering, but like
they also bent the rules, right? Because it used to be that every single team had to play on Thursday, and it's not like that anymore.
Yes, yeah, that's a good point.
We made a lot of hay about the Lions and Packers playing 3 games in 11 days and how they were kind of like riding those schedules. Now we've got 4 AFC all of them playoff teams. Yeah. Chiefs, Steelers, Ravens, Texans. All very much so in fights for seeding. In the case of the Steelers and Ravens for a division crown. All 4 of these teams, they've basically set this up so they'll rotate between them, but they've 3 games in 11 days for the Lions and Packers, 3 games in 10 days for 4 playoff AFC teams. And if you think that's not going to have an effect with only 1 week after that to get your gas back before going into the playoffs, like, that's the other thing is like it's not the start of the season, it's close to the playoffs, and you're suddenly just cramming a lot of games into a really, really tight window.
Yeah.
Step up the NFLPA, get rid of it. I don't know what you can do at this point. Probably nothing until the next.
No, probably nothing.
CBA, but.
And you'll still get your ass kicked in the CBA too, because the league seems to just have the PA on just a shoestring at times.
God, can't we just get 2 Monday night games? Let's just do 2 Monday night games. Fine with that.
Only
If
you
it,
can give
Jeremy, if it meant getting rid of Thursday night football,
Sure.
you'd do it in a heartbeat.
Oh, no question.
Yeah.
Can I get Chris Berman to do a Monday night game if we do that?
Just as long as it's not the Lions game.
Depends on if he has any Canadian aspirin.
Duh.
Do.
God, I love Berman.
All right, let me get to the last 2 alerts, and then I think we should jump back into it because it feels like 3 hours since we've talked about the Lions. Bayad, think of the 1-bit, says, how is it possible to be as bad as Jonathan Vilma is at your job?
Scott Daly.
Who did he call someone Scott Daly today?
Hogan Hatton.
He's just living a year behind, that's all.
Long snappers matter.
We never got a replay of what he did, right? Because that to me was more annoying than everything. Like, we just never got any replays that I wanted in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see anything.
JT Sam 25-bit says, I know the Lions won't do this, but if the Vikings win next week, do they play starters a lot or pull back? There would be no incentive to try to win the 49ers game. Let me do the math and make sure that you're actually
Sorry.
right.
What's the question again?
Okay, so the Vikings would have to win and the Eagles would have to lose, I think. Because if the Lions lose and the Eagles win, does that bring... No, never mind. So, okay, you're saying if the Vikings win...
I know the Lions won't do this, but if the Vikings win next week, do they play starters a lot or pull back a bit?
On the 49ers
incentive
game.
to try to win the 49ers game.
I think they're right in that they're like everything then just becomes about week 18. I think that's right. But
I think the important part is they're just not going to do it.
Yeah,
they're not going to do it. That's ultimately,
Yeah, to answer your question, no, they will not pull back. You also have to remember what this game means to the Lions going into San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
Vengeance game.
Yeah, like they're not going to take San Francisco lightly. I understand. Did they take the Packers lightly?
Did you watch the Dallas game?
Right.
Well, even more than that, did you watch Tampa and LA to start the year too? Treating those like it was like not week 1, but like we need vengeance on you.
So the Lions wouldn't be able to. We'll talk a little bit more about this on the next segment. But yeah, if the Vikings win next week, they can't lock up anything. Everything will get pushed to next week.
I'm very curious how the Packers will actually perform in US Bank next week.
Because the Packers don't have much to play for either. They can't win the division at this point.
What about seeding?
How much does it matter to you versus being between the 5 and 7 seed?
But I think also too the larger picture, and this is probably one of Dan Campbell's arguments, is like playing for consistency.
Sure.
Right? Like
Yeah.
Yep.
They're not going to take them lightly, but there's not going to be like that extra fire of like, hey, if we win this game, we're going to win the division. They can't win the division now. It's over.
Yeah. Cowboys up 10-0 over the Bucks.
I know. I was going to say something at some point. It's early.
Good Lord. I think that's a key for segment 2.
That's a good point. Let's get to it.
We didn't talk Stumbleruski there, so we'll open with that a little bit. And
okay.
Were there some other players we should hit on, or should we just start talking about the?
I don't think there's. Well, no, we should talk about maybe some concerns on defense overall, because I feel like we didn't touch on that all. We kind of like glossed over it.
We gave a couple game ball stuff, and then we talked Christian Mahogany. So I don't think we got too much into a ton of players. So
no, if you want to. I imagine there's going to be a little bit of JMO discourse after the personal foul again.
Cool. Yeah, we should talk about that because I'd love to watch that.
Okay, good. And then we should talk playoff outlook and stuff like that afterwards.
Okay, I've got my good things, so I'll just try to tee up each one.
We talked iffy quite a bit in the first segment.
Yes, we did.
Guys,
we talked iffy. We talked iffy. Pride to Detroit PODcast. We got a couple more notes here before we turn our attention to what help the Lions were proffered today in a bit of a funny episode, but we'll talk about that in a second. We still have some player notes to really clean up here. So first, if I may, I know this is right up Ryan's wheelhouse. I think we talked a little bit about Jameson Williams earlier. I know there was kind of the back and forth with him. Once again, the Tyreek Stevenson, Jameson Williams rivalry is going to continue to be a thing probably into next year, I would imagine. Seeing as now this has been 2 games where the two have really gone at it. JMO did draw a personal foul very early in this game. It felt like the refs were starting to get ahead of it, but at the same time also feels like throwing the flag was also kind of letting it go off a little bit more. Either way, wasn't really too much after that. I know some people hand-wrung a little bit about the flexing and everything, but I mean, it kind of feels like this is the part and parcel of what you're going to get with JMO, and I find it all quite a bit overblown. I know you're worried about some of the discourse on all of this, though.
Yeah, and I think JMO showed a lot of maturity in post-game comments that he shared where, he essentially was asked what's going on between you and Tyreek Stevenson, and he pretty much squashed it. He's like, I didn't really see any kind of back and forth today. I got up, I spun the football like the football gets spun all the time. You didn't throw it in his face, so good job. That's
step in the right direction,
right? Is that a little showy? Sure. Did I think it was a bogus flag? Yes, especially when it was later way upped by Jalen Johnson being a dummy and getting an awful unsportsmanlike penalty for Craig Reynolds trying to toss the ball to the ref and Jalen Johnson smacking it, and me seeing that ref reach for his waistband and being like, yes, great. We can bury Jalen Johnson, one of the best corners in the league, if we're going to get all upset about JMO. Yes, the JMO penalty that happened on Thanksgiving, not his best look, but growth, right? Unprompted after that game, Jeremy steps up to the room of guys in the locker room and says that was me, that was my bad.
Yeah.
Accepting ownership of it, displaying the number one trait and quality of any football player that they bring into this organization, which is accountability. I thought it was a bogus penalty today. I thought he handled himself well. A bummer of a penalty, but also nice job with the 82-yard snag and the other plays you made too. So no problem.
No, there isn't. And listen, when the flag first was thrown and you couldn't really tell why, I was a little annoyed, right? It was okay. You let this guy get in your head a second time. You can't let that happen. And then you see the replay and it's just him spinning the ball. I could probably point to 20 to 25 more instances this week of a more legit taunting penalty than that. And I thought one of Jameson Williams' comments was really interesting, which he was like, that penalty isn't, he doesn't say this exactly, I'm very much paraphrasing and kind of taking another step. He's like, the reason they threw that flag was the Bears sideline. It happened on the Bears sideline because they go, oh, there's a reaction. And then the refs are like, well, this is antagonizing the other team. I'm going to throw a flag. But it's nothing. And what I thought really interesting was Dan Campbell was asked about it. And I don't know if you guys saw his comments, but he's like, yeah, that was great. I went over there and talked about him hey, don't let him get in your head like that. He's like, okay, great. And then that was it. And Dan Campbell was praising him for everything. He's like, yeah, it wasn't that big of a deal. And what I love about him is that it water off a duck's back. That happens, then he goes out there and it's over. And that's the one thing I think that maybe we should take a little bit more about this situation is it doesn't spiral with him, right? It's maybe one instant, one outburst, and yes, he needs to be better about some of those instances. I'm with you. I thought today was bogus, but it never spirals. It never turns into something bigger. It's not something that lasts the entire game. He's not going toe-to-toe with Tyreek Stevenson all game. Both of them are like, this isn't even a thing. We're not even talking to each other. It just so happens to be that there's 2 instances in 2 games. So, yeah, I imagine this is going to be a radio talk show. Why can't JMO get his emotions under control type of thing? But it's a nothing burger. I think they're fine.
I feel like this entire conversation is kind of the opposite of when we talk about national media. This is local people way too close to this. This is a nothing burger, and people want to talk about it because they're close to it. But sometimes you need to take an effing step back and get away from this entire story because it is less than nothing. Less than nothing in all of this.
I have a great segue.
What's that?
So while the Bears sideline did a great job acting, it did not win the Oscar today, Chris.
No, thank you, Ryan. No, it did not. I remember the quote after the Dallas Cowboys game, Ryan. Maybe Ryan, Jeremy, maybe you remember this quote. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. Do you either know where I'm going with this?
The bag is deep.
Yes. And people's like, hey, Ben Johnson, maybe slow down a little bit. You're giving your, let's quote Snoop a little bit in these god-awful holiday commercials. You're giving away too much too fast. Slow down. And Ben Johnson assuring you, no, I've still got plenty more where that came from. And I don't think I've seen anything like it. I know I did talk with a former Patriots player today who did talk about how they used to have a trick play where they would direct snap to Danny Woodhead and Tom Brady would act like the ball had just like snapped past him and turn his back. And the stumble bum, whatever you want to call that, seems to have joined that pantheon as we watched the Sam Laporta touchdown. In case you did not see it, was Jared Goff acting like it had been. He was trying to hand it off to Jahmyr Gibbs, stumbling as he kind of did, kind of a callback to the Packers game where he stumbled handing the ball off to David Montgomery, and Jahmyr Gibbs falling down as if to, try to collect a ball that was on the ground. And it looks like the entire Bears deep front 7 bit on that, started to rush up, and then Goff sends a lob shot down to Sam Laporta for an easy touchdown, Ryan. This was fantastic. This might have been your best piece yet, Ben.
Well, I mean, speaking of being deep in your bag, we just have Ben Johnson doing his best Santa impression, right? Like, move over, Santa Claus. Ben Johnson has this one. Jeremy, I need to know though, like, has Jared Goff just been method acting this entire time as an uncoordinated guy for this one shining moment? Like, maybe. I'm just saying. I mean, is it a little Kaiser Soze of Jared Goff to pull off something like this? Is he all of a sudden going to be a mobile quarterback? Is this a new dynamic to the Lions offense?
Is Vanilla Vic real?
Well, when the Lions tweeted out the play, right? Didn't they say something too kind of snarky about that? Like, we told you he's athletic or something like that.
Oh yeah, I mean they had to have, because like, it fooled nearly everybody, but. The audio is great on that play too, Jeremy, right? Because the whole team's like fumble, like
ball.
Yeah.
And I assume that's the Lions players saying that, right? It's not the Bears taking the bait.
Which, if you're a Bears player, I know you're in the moment, but it's like they all are IDing this fumble immediately.
They're not like
maybe even a little too
How
quickly.
do they even know that he fumbled it? No, I mean, honestly, I've never seen a play like it. Like, when we talk about all the trick plays that the Lions do, there's usually some sort of precedent for a lot of them, right? They're not completely unique. They're not, reinventing the wheel or anything like they're formations that have been made. A lot of times they're plays that have been made before. It's just the Lions have the balls to call them at the rate that they do. I've never seen anything like this, and it worked so damn well. It did everything it was supposed to do because Goff didn't actually fumble. And the Bears froze. Like, you watch the defense.
Thanks, Jared Goff.
They and the Bears, like, they just completely froze. And just Sam Laporta sneaks out in a very Brock Wright fashion. Nobody is there, and it's phenomenal. They came up with it and that's the other thing. They came up with it this week. That wasn't something they've been working on since training camp. Ben Johnson just has a little hair up his ass and be like, hey, what if you fall down and fumble? And that's the thing, too. Ben Johnson's original idea was, hey, why don't you actually fumble the ball and get the Bears to go crazy, and then you pick it up and throw it over the heads? And Jared Goff's like, how about I just like stumble kind of?
I'm not that athletic, man.
Right?
Yeah. No, I don't think we can go that hardcore on it.
And I think that all the whole process tickles me because, like, one really good note, Jared Goff. Thank you for
saving that play.
Yeah, for saving that play and not coming up with something psychotic, because there was also a play in this game that was almost an absolute disaster. It was an end around to Jamison Williams, and for some reason Jahmyr Gibbs would not give up on a play that was clearly dead and actually kind of saved it, but it was also terrifying. But like, you don't mess around with putting the ball on the ground. Just don't do that. But anyways, I don't know. I just like I'm smile ear to ear because that was super fun. And it's also emblematic of who this team is, right? Like, they like to have fun when they're out there. And I know that sounds cheesy and corny and who cares about fun, just win the football game. But when you look at a team like the Chiefs, right? Your 2-time Super Bowl winners, like, they do crap like that too all the time. Like, they're going in motion and doing merry-go-rounds and stuff like that. They're having fun out there. And I think it helps. I think it helps in some untangible way to have the guys going out there and doing something that they view as fun.
And if I may, like, since we were talking about, narratives for certain things about JMO earlier, and now we're here, like, I know there's definitely some people I would imagine who are like, what, is that really sporting? Is that really okay? Like, is that really even something you really should be doing? You're up by this many scores and you're calling trick plays, and, just it feels a little just kind of out of sorts, and you're asking for face to face. Well, it's working. It's working damn well. And I struggle to come up with a response that isn't just completely flippant away from people on that regard, because, like, I don't know. I feel like this is just something where everyone's clinging to an outdated mode or ideal of when trick plays should or should not be done. And that's really the main innovation of Ben Johnson, is to stand up and say, no, I don't need this. These shouldn't just be acts of desperation. These should just be always active at the same time. And I don't even think it's a matter of sportsmanship or anything else. Like, I'm sorry, the whole nature of offense in the NFL is deceiving. What is a play action except what is the Sembleruski if not the logical extension of the play action? It's all about misdirecting the defense. The best plays are all misdirecting the defense. That's exactly what they did here, and what they have continued to do on most of their quote-unquote trick plays. I think we're just calling them trick plays, Ryan, because we're just used to seeing them in a moment of desperation to try to throw off the scent, pull out a miracle, because that's kind of like what we had. I mean, since we're on the Ruski thing, that's what the fumble Ruski was. That's kind of what it's always been, and now it's like, no, these are just extensions of the playbook.
And also, I would rather this play be used against the Chicago Bears than a defense that has their stuff together and maybe can rush the passer a little bit better than them, right? So sure. It doesn't hold much water for people to say, like, well, this was a really good play. Why didn't you, like, save it for another day? It's like, well, I just, A, trust Ben Johnson to come up with something else. B, now I trust Jared Goff to be the voice of reason in the room. And right. C, this team won 13 games this year so far.
Yeah, I just
like they're doing it all
the process.
I mean, the only people we talked about in the break, Chris, the only people who have maybe problems with the process, so to speak, are the Chicago Bears, internally as an organization, and the Detroit Lions have none of that concern. There's so many plays from this year. There's so many plays that have happened this year that the article where we always write the superlatives of the best ofs from the year is going to be so hard to narrow down. I mean,
the Lions
a play where the right tackle was going to throw a pass is like maybe in the top 5.
In March, when they drop here are all the trick plays we ran in 2024, is going to be like a 30-minute video.
Might be longer than Jack Fox's highlights.
I have to put Yakety Sax on repeat quite a few times for that.
Super Mario music, actually, Chris.
Ooh, Super Mario 2.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the early Christmas gift the Lions got?
Let's do it. Let's talk playoffs.
So, I feel a little bit bad in the fact that Jalen Hurts got. I didn't see the play where he got injured. My understanding was that he got driven, his head driven directly into the turf on some sort of play. Either way, he leaves the game for the Philadelphia Eagles. Leaves man who is now in witness protection in a witness protection program across the entire state of Pennsylvania. Kenny Pickett in at quarterback. Kenny Pickett in this game against the Washington Commanders, 14-24, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 3 sacks. Let's just skip right to the end. The Washington Commanders put together a drive at the end that saw an actual missile from the arm of Jaden Daniels directly into the end zone to win the game with 6 seconds left, time expiring, and the Washington radio booth going absolutely nuts as he finds, I think it was Jamison Crowder, for the touchdown and the game-winning score after trading a couple odd field goals in this. The Washington Commanders have handed the Eagles their first loss since, I believe,
10 games.
The Buccaneers game back in late September, early October. Yes, September 29th was the last time the Eagles took a loss. And what it does mean is that there is room, Jeremy, for the first seed now. That at 12-3, the Lions at 13-2, the Minnesota Vikings at 13-2, the Eagles have they would need help quite a bit in basically all 3 remaining games for the Lions and Vikings to climb back to the first seed.
The Eagles shot at the number 1 seed are basically dead. According to the New York Times, it's 6%. Like, they went from almost 50% to 6% this week. They're done. It would take, I think, the Lions losing this week, the Packers or the Vikings losing this week, and then I don't know, like a tie or something. I don't know. They're in deep trouble because they don't have the tiebreaker against the Lions. So if the Lions,
deep trouble for the 1 seed. Let's be clear.
Correct,
this is still
sure. Yes. If the Lions go 1-1, and assuming the 1-1 is against the Vikings, they're in. Basically where the Lions are at right now is they need a combination of 1 win and 1 Vikings loss the rest of the way, and everything is clinched. That can happen.
And because they have a direct,
because it could happen as soon as next week and make Week 18 completely irrelevant. The Vikings have the Packers next week, so that's very much possible. And what I saw on Twitter was right a couple seconds ago. Vikings are a 1-point favorite. The Lions are a 3-point favorite over the 49ers. So either of those games could really go either way. But the good news for the Lions is that they can lose against the 49ers. And if they just take care of business in Week 18, they're fine. They're going to have the tiebreaker over the Vikings with head-to-head. They're going to have the tiebreaker over the Eagles because they have a much better conference record. So the Lions just need to take care of business.
Lost to the Bills is AFC versus like 3, and this is, I believe, Eagles. Eagles have lost 3 NFC games. They're done. So Ryan, it does afford some latitude. I still think it still comes down to look, the Lions just are going to have to beat the Vikings head to head no matter what to resolve quite a bit of this. You would like to have some help, and I know there was a lot of consternation about the Seahawks not helping out, and just an ugly Geno Smith interception to end that game as the Vikings continued to claw back in a lot of these games, but. For the Lions, and I think it's the way Dan Campbell will want it, you're going to have a chance to resolve that head-to-head regardless of what happens next week.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Not
I'm
necessarily.
saying, you know what I mean. Even if the Lions don't get help next week,
correct,
doesn't matter. You'll still be able to resolve it head-to-head.
Yeah. Week 18 being for all the marbles. Is what we're barreling towards.
All the Tostitos.
I refuse.
Go Packers. Jeremy, the only way that it would happen is if Matt LaFleur had a shower epiphany and was like, you know what? We've been doing this wrong. We need to go back to Malik. It's the only way I
Stop
can see them
it.
beating
Stop
the
it.
Vikings next week. I really do. I think
No.
Jordan loves. I mean,
I think the Packers
hold
are a
on.
better football team than the Vikings right now.
I just need Matt LaFleur to stop coaching scared against division opponents. That's my hot take.
I know a lot of people are down on the Vikings, and it's typically mostly Lions fans that I'm seeing that are down on the Vikings, and it's like I
fair.
get it. You're there's a smidge of it. Like you're a little bit intimidated, but also you're mostly annoyed that the Lions have 13 wins through 16 weeks and nothing is settled for sure, especially in a year where, I mean, last year we talked about it, right? The number one team in the NFC had 12 wins.
Yep, San Francisco was 12-5, and that was a 12. And like they had certain tiebreakers because I think like two other teams were 12-5, including the Lions.
I kind of almost just want to keep things 1 week at a time, right? Like I know that week 18 is the ultimate week. Dan Campbell's not going to let that happen, right?
He's not going to look ahead.
This isn't going to be a look ahead spot. I know the NFC Championship game was an awful night for everybody who was a Lions fan, but if the U right now took a time machine back to the end of that NFC Championship game and said, hey, next year the Lions are going to be 3-point favorites on the road versus the 49ers on December 30th, you would be like, either the 49ers are awful or the Lions are having an incredible season. And I guess both are true.
Yeah. And Jeremy, I would say too, a couple things. Number one, to that fact, Lions this is going to be Monday Night Football. This is prime time against the 49ers, where the Lions have thrived. And if we can take anything away from how they handled the Cowboys game early in the year, they still hold a grudge and they do not care about what your state is in this year. The Cowboys are off. Doesn't matter. We're still going to dunk on you nonstop because we're still mad about the year prior. Like there's no issue in my mind of Dan Campbell motivating his guys for the 49ers game.
I'm just saying, what better situation to be in than going back to Santa Clara and going back to that field and having the opportunity to clinch the number one seed right there on the same field where you lost the NFC Championship game to a 49ers team that has already been eliminated from playoff contention. I think it's very, very possible the Lions are in that situation. Maybe even likely. I'm telling you right now, I'm picking the Packers in that game. And maybe that's a little bit of want over heart, overthink. But I'm not.
Did you just admit that you're a Vikings fan?
No.
You said heart. That snuck in there. You had an Eric moment.
I am going with my heart instead of what I'm thinking, which is picking the Packers to win.
Okay, honey.
I guess
you cannot call me that.
The only thing about the Packers thing is
that's
like,
reserved for a different podcast.
If you really believe in this Lions team and think they have the bona fides to make a Super Bowl in spite of all the injuries, and that they're on a good timetable to get guys back to hold off some of those injuries as we go along, then like, why are you so afraid of the Vikings game at the end of the year? Like, I'm not saying any of you guys, but no. There's plenty of people who want this thing. It's like, I'm tired of the Vikings. I just want this to be done. I want the Packers to games that won't matter. I'm saying it shouldn't matter because even if, and I'll say this, even if the Lions have the one seed sewn up after the 49ers game, I think they'll still go out there to try to punch around the Vikings. That's just who this team is. You're going to want consistency going into the playoffs. You're about to go, if you have that one seed, you're about to go on to a week, and it is a week of rest, but it's also a week of you going cold too. So I feel like that's not just a game where just be like, yeah, we'll throw in Hendon Hooker for 4 quarters.
But wouldn't you rather have less possible outcomes to not win the one seed? Like, why would you not be rooting for every possible inch of your being for the Packers to beat the Vikings and the Lions to beat the 49ers?
I guess it's just not relevant to me because if you want, if you hold on, man, let me finish. If you want to be the best, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to play the Vikings however many times. You might have to play them 3 times regardless at the end of the day. So just get ready to play them at the best either way. I'm just saying, like, it would be nice for the Packers to finally shove a little reality check into the Vikings, but I'm saying either way, that final week 18, you're going to have to get up for that game if you're the Lions.
You don't have to. Listen, there's also very much a selfish version of me that does not want that game flexed to Sunday Night Football.
What are you afraid of in the Vikings then?
I didn't say that. What? I said I don't want that game to be Sunday Night Football because I don't want to be up till 2 a.m. covering that game. I hate Sunday Night Football. I hate primetime games. I'm sorry. Give me 1 o'clock for the rest of my freaking life and let me coast to a Week 18 game that I don't have to care about the actual outcome of. That's all I want.
I said this weeks ago, that I love 1 o'clock versus the Jags. I love 1 o'clock versus the Titans. We didn't know how good we had it.
Haven't we earned a week of just like, who cares if the Lions win? Doesn't matter. We
People want to watch the Lions.
I've been waiting for 3 months for the playoffs at this point. Like, I just want to get there. Let me get to the playoffs with no stress. And so, Packers, take care of your business. You know you hate how cocky the Vikings are right now. Lions, go win on that stupid field that you lost on in January last year and I lost my freaking keys at. And let me rest on Week 18 so I can just kick back, 1 o'clock game, watch whatever game they put on Sunday Night Football that has some semblance of I don't know, stakes. And then let me rest the following week. I get the next week off too. That's great.
And I'm taking Dan Campbell brain. It don't matter. None of it matters. Just keep beating people in front of you. You see a face, you punch it. Doesn't matter if it's 49ers. Doesn't matter if it's Vikings. Just keep punching those faces, Ryan. You keep punching those faces until they all disappear. Maybe it is a harder road, but who cares? The Lions are already on a hard-ass road.
I'm going to be interested to see how, if there is a scenario in which the Lions don't have anything to play for and the 1 seed is locked up, how they would approach that in Week 18. I know last year they had the outside shot of like if some things happen their way, they could end up with the 1 seed. So all their starters played, and then the Khalif Raymond thing happened and the Sam Laporta thing happened, and it was like, why are we playing these players when we have such a tiny chance of? But I'm going to be interested to see how they play that because. I don't know, Chris, this is a team that had 1,000 injuries happen to it, right? Like maybe they get an opportunity, but you can't rest everybody, right? That's the problem with the NFL. And that's, I mean, what we literally just talked about too, like weeks ago, right? Is that you can't pull out your starters. And even if you're pulling out your starters, like, and you know that you're not playing a bunch of starters going into a game, you just don't have a big enough roster to shuffle all that stuff around.
I just don't think it is in the repertoire of Dan Campbell to look at a week 18 game and say there's no meaning in this. I'm sure he will find some meaning somewhere because that's just who he is, man. Like look at this. Like this was
Hooker some reps.
Hey man, let Hendon Hook, I guess. Should we do, I mean, we kind of skimmed through the Eagles game. I don't think this diminishes the Eagles for me just because Jalen Hurts didn't play this game at all. I'm just curious how you guys feel about we've kind of been doing this each week where we talk about the NFC teams remaining. And now that we kind of have pretty much, I think, all but like maybe the outside chance that the Seahawks or Falcons could jump up over the Bucks or Rams. We've got most of the playoffs known. We know that Lions are probably going to have to see an NFC opponent, North opponent, a third time. I don't know if it'll be the Packers or the Vikings or both, but that seems like it's in the cards. Commanders are in, Eagles are in, Bucks are playing right now. It's kind of a half game up for them right now over the Atlanta Falcons, but with Falcons kind of putting Penix in, I don't know how it's going to happen, and the Bucks' path down the road here seems pretty good, especially since the Falcons have to play the Commanders. I don't think the Seahawks have the juice to make the playoffs. I could be very wrong, but I think that head-to-head against the Rams at the end of the year, the Rams are in. So is it still the Eagles are the ones that fear you? Assuming, of course, they have Jalen Hurts back and healthy, or is there like new wrinkles of another team? Is it maybe the drama with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown? You don't fear the Eagles as much? What is it?
I don't know. I still think the Eagles are a really good football team. It wasn't their greatest performance against the Commanders, but it's a divisional game. You're without your starting quarterback for 3 of the 4 quarters. Of course, he's not the one that would have prevented a dropped pass that would have sealed the game. He's not the one that allowed Jaden Daniels to drive the length of the field to win the football game. So they're not a perfect football team. They really haven't been all season, but they have a good offensive line. They have a good defensive line, and in general, that's good enough for me to view you among the NFL elite. So they're going to be a challenge. And listen, I think it's. I mean, if I'm being honest, like I think this is such a better playoff field than it was last year. The Rams are surging at the right time. They certainly look a lot better and healthier now. The Bucks, well, I was going to say the Bucks are starting to look pretty good too, but as I'm watching this, the Cowboys are taking them to the wire and maybe jumping to a 2-score lead as we get to halftime-ish. So maybe the Bucks aren't as scary, but the NFC North teams are. Like, I'm not saying that the Lions can't beat them. The Lions are 5-0 in the division right now. They haven't lost a divisional game. So I can't say I'm super scared of them, but like, it's not like the Packers games haven't been close. It's not like the Vikings games haven't been coached. Those are going to be close games. So I don't think there is a clear, like, this is the team who is going to win the NFC. I think a lot of these teams can win or lose to the other one on any given day.
Yeah, I'm really ready to overreact to that Green Bay Minnesota game next week. I'm really ready to overreact specifically about Jordan Love. Like, if Jordan Love has a great game and he beats the Vikings, then I'll be like, oh, I don't really want to play the Packers.
Toyotathon might be real.
Might be a thing. But if he goes out there and stinks up the joint, I just want to at like a lot of people. Like people that I don't even have relationships with and be like, what is it? Like you gush about him all the time and you talk about him all the time. Can he show up once for the Lions? I know you're not gonna like that, Chris, but like I'm rooting for the Packers.
Oh my God. Like
I have to. Malik plays for him.
I don't. Okay, fair enough. You mentioned the rest of it. I think the AFC got a little interesting today too because like we were all afeared over the Buffalo Bills after the annihilation that kind of happened with the Lions game this past week, and then they go out and like really seem to struggle with the Patriots. Meanwhile, at the same time, I don't know. We talked about this in the break, but like the NFL's got the Steelers, Ravens, Chiefs, and Texans all playing 3 games in 10 days, which is even less than the Packers and Lions had to deal with of 3 games in 11 days. No clue how that's going to affect them coming into the playoffs. I don't know if the Chiefs are going to have Chris Jones. Texans are, probably lost Tank Dell for the season. Doesn't know how much that changes it, but they're not exactly looking like, the Texans of last year's. But I guess my point is that as we're getting to these final weeks too, like the AFC is starting to look a lot more open too. So maybe you're not just going to get, the Buffalo Bills being the Josh Allen juggernaut that you thought they were, or it could be that like maybe you won't even see the Kansas City Chief holding fistfuls of 4-leaf clovers in a potential Super Bowl. I think this entire playoff in both conferences is about to be really, really spicy.
It doesn't seem like there's a favorite, Jeremy. Like, it doesn't seem like there's one team that is head and shoulders above all the other teams in both conferences. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean the Chiefs are, I think, naturally going to be the favorites just because they're
not really. No,
two-peat. I think they will be. They will.
I mean, even beyond that, like I think more people were more enamored with the Bills and Ravens out of that conference this year. Like, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people.
Don't they?
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of people who have stood up and said like this is kind of some bull on how the Chiefs are winning games, and they're not considering them the favorites anymore.
Yeah, but this happens every year with the Chiefs. Every single year with the Chiefs, and then they turn it on this time of year and blow teams out of the water, and that's already starting to happen. Here, the way I view it is the AFC has 3 challengers. It's the Bills, the Chiefs, and it's the Ravens. I don't think anyone else is even close to in that class. I'm sorry.
I think the Steelers on a good day can knock one of them out.
They could.
Depends on what Russell
But they're not going to make
get.
a deep run. They're not going to make a deep run. They're not talented enough. I know Mike Tomlin has some sort of wizardry that even has them 10-5 right now, but they're not good enough. In the NFC, I honestly think you could name 4 or 5 teams that could win, that could reach the Super Bowl. I really do. I think all 3 NFC North teams are in that conversation. I think the Eagles are in that conversation, and I think the Rams are starting to work their way into that conversation. The Rams are on a freaking heater right now. Like they've won 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 of their last 10.
Their big question
Bills.
is all 3 of those games have been like within 1 score. They've played some close ones in this. Or, I'm sorry, the Jets game was not a single score, but like I don't know if you watched some of that game, Ryan. That was not a very pretty game at all. I think like with the Steelers, like it really depends on what week Stafford shows up for you.
Yeah, I mean, I want to remind all of us that we had this exact same conversation about the Rams.
Last year?
The exact same conversation about the Rams last year because they won what 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of their final 8 games to make the playoffs. They were 3-6 in November, and then they turned it on. They're doing it again this year. However, they don't have Aaron Donald. Like I just don't think their defense is as good as it was last year.
Yeah.
And
Jared Verse is good, but he's not Donald level good just yet. But I do fear Jared Verse.
yeah, but also like the thing that concerns me as a Lions fan is who are the teams that have the high octane offenses? Well, it's the Rams, right? Like the Rams, if they're operating at top speed, they have the running game, they have the passing game. It can hurt them. The Eagles are the same thing. Like I'm not even so much concerned about the Eagles defense. I think the Lions offense is going to be just fine ultimately.
Sure.
I mean, I hope they get Khalif Raymond back. That could be a nice little piece to have because maybe we don't need to see Tom Kennedy returning punts anymore. But good on Tom Kennedy to get some work in December. Good on you, man.
He's on the 53 now, right? You got to respect him. He's not just practice squad Tom Kennedy.
Sorry.
Hey, salute.
But that's my overall point is just that like I'm kind of looking at teams and being like who do I feel confident could like outscore the Lions?
Yeah.
And there are a few of those teams in the NFC. I think there's less of them in the AFC though. I think you named all 3 of them, Jeremy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's yeah. That means we're done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I just have nothing. I agree with all of it. So I'm just like, all right.
Go Pack, go.
Let's get out of here.
We all agree on something now.
Yay. All right. What do we got coming up this week?
Christmas.
Midweek Christmas. So are we going to have a midweek mailbag? Yes or no?
We are almost certainly going to have a midweek mailbag, but it will not be streamed live. So sorry to all of our live viewers. That'll be a audio only experience. Maybe we might put a YouTube video up, but mostly audio.
No preview this week. I'm maybe seeing if I can maybe have a friend join me to talk about some specific stuff, but also it is I'm working a lot because it is the holidays, and I do work in the sports business, which means that, as we kind of talked about during a break, it is a very busy point for a lot of people because the NFL makes us have to play games on Christmas, and that means a lot of people have to work for those games on Christmas. Either way, we're going to wrap it up here, and we'll probably see you close to the new year and talking about Lions and 49ers and the fallout from that game. Any other final notes? Anything else any other podcast business to take care of?
Nope. Go Pack, go.
Gross. Never going to sit well with me. You don't have to say it.
Say it
See you,
again.
Starside.
Go Pack, go.
See you, Starside.
Recording stopped.
I could have gotten it too. Let Malik freak.
No. Although it would be hilarious if Malik Willis led them to a win over the Vikings. That's an everybody wins scenario right there.
Everybody. All parties involved. Are you kidding me? Watching Malik Willis torch a Brian Flores defense in the most important game of the Vikings season would hit like crack in the 80s.
I'm in. How do I sign up? I don't have any alerts to get to. We can just chill for a little bit. Although I would like to keep this break relatively short because I have to get on a flight in 12 hours and I still have to write the entire newsletter. So
I worked 13 hours yesterday and 10 hours today before coming home and doing this, and I have to be up early for work tomorrow too. So I am kind of I think I'm about ready to like take my audio, slap something together, and then crawl into bed and watch the rest of this football game.
This football game, which the Dallas Cowboys lead 20-7. Ryan, what happened? Why are the Buccaneers making me look terrible right now.
Dude, why are the Buccaneers making me look terrible right now?
Are the Cowboys are eliminated at this point? Are they going to make the playoffs? I think they're
What
eliminated.
can I actually?
No, don't say that. They're eliminated. Stop
Hold on.
it.
Something we didn't even
That's
bring up in the
mean. You're
specter.
being mean.
Something we didn't even bring up in the specter of AFC, but with that Broncos loss, the Bengals are still alive.
I don't think
No?
it's going to happen.
Well,
I mean, they
hold on.
are,
Hold
but
on.
like,
Like they have a shot though, right?
They do. Yes, I'm just saying, is that one of those teams, Ryan, with that kind of offense? Are you afeared of
Yeah.
what the Bengals could do?
Yeah. Jeremy, the Bengals offense.
The best receiver in the league.
They've played enough Thursday Night Football, and I think
we
everybody
play
on
Justin
chat.
Jefferson twice a year, and we smoke the Vikings.
I,
Okay.
but anyway,
I want to have an actual conversation about this with
I want to say that there's nobody who would rather be doing anything other than watching football, I think, in my opinion, than Jeremy. Like, Jeremy just, like, loves watching football. Like, he'll watch football any time of the day as long as it's good football, right?
Sure. I'll watch some bad football.
I watch football all the time, and it doesn't even matter if it's good football to me.
You watch football for a different reason, Chris. You watch football because it's Hawaii and UTEP at
It's Hawaii.
12:30 a.m. And
Yeah,
it's
it's
sicko hour. Yeah, yeah.
It's football. I'm just saying, like, because even then, like, you can still find stuff down in the pits, and you might dismiss a Bengals game.
Yeah,
The Bengals
But-
have allowed 27.6 points per game, 31st in the league.
sure. It'd be a shootout. But Chris's question was like, do you view the Bengals as one of those offenses? I think the Bengals are one of those offenses.
I'll be honest, I looked up their stats hoping that their offense wasn't as good as it was. It's fifth.
It's good. It's really
fifth in
good.
scoring.
Yes.
Have you seen Joe Burrow's stats lately?
Yeah, I know. He's putting up MVP numbers for a freaking 7-8 team or whatever they are.
He's doing the Matthew Stafford thing. Like, this
Yeah.
is Matthew Stafford's old gimmick. Like, be an incredible quarterback with huge gaudy numbers, but your defense is terrible.
And you sometimes lose games regardless of you doing everything right.
Or you do one thing wrong and it's your fault. It's like
They had 4 turnovers today. What did they do wrong?
Burrow had a fumble. I know that.
And 2 interceptions. Their offense is garbage.
Cat. Whatever. But wait, even in what scenario though do they make the playoffs? They have to have what, either like the Broncos or the Chargers lose?
Yeah, I believe so. And they do play the Broncos head to head as well.
Is it lose? They have to have them lose out?
I don't know.
So I'm going to imagine that head to head makes things. So here's how the Bengals season ends. It's next week it's Broncos, then at Steelers. Broncos, I believe that head to head.
Here. Bengals
If the
need
Broncos-
to win their final 2 games of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At home against Denver and then in Pittsburgh.
Broncos have to lose out, but they play Denver.
Yes.
The Bengals also need the Broncos to lose to Denver and the Chiefs. So that's possible. The Bengals also need
Broncos to Cincinnati. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, the Broncos
Lose
and the
in
Bengals
Denver. I'm
play
sorry. Lose
next
in
week.
Denver.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry. They also need the Bengals. I'm sorry. They need the Dolphins and the Colts to lose at least one more game. So they need the Broncos to lose out. They need to win out against the Broncos and the Steelers, and they still need the Dolphins and the Colts to go 1-1.
Yeah. Here's their big problem: remaining schedule for the Dolphins at Browns at Jets.
I think it's crazy that the Dolphins can still make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right.
Here's the Colts' remaining schedule at Giants, Jaguars. I think it's crazy the Colts can make the playoffs.
It's one of those things where it's like, oh wow, look at all these teams that can still make the playoffs, and it's just going to be the teams that have the 70% chance to make the playoffs or higher right now. It's going to be the Broncos. It's going to be the other team that's close. Steelers? I don't know. Who is it?
I think both conferences are top heavy. The problem is that it's not as tough. It's a bigger top on the NFC versus the AFC, Ryan. So we're starting to now in the eighth spot right now is a team that's 7-8, and or 3 teams all 7-8, and they're all still live for those playoffs against 9 and 6 teams.
Before we get out of here, I don't know if we all agree, but like for the NFC, is your like sneaky team that doesn't have a great record but could pull off one of these upsets over the top heavy conferences? Is the NFC team the Rams?
Yeah. Problem is they're going to win their division, so they're going to be a top team. They're going to be like the 3 seed. So it's not even going to feel like a team that's coming from like they're going to be the 3 seed, so they're going to face who? The 6 seed, which is going to be either the Packers or the Vikings.
I'm having a tremendous amount of questions in regards to the Commanders, and I feel like a lot of people are writing off the Commanders like, oh, this is cool, but they're just not going to be able to carry it through to the playoffs, which, like, totally understood. And that 3-game loss streak they had would put a lot of damp on how we viewed the Commanders, but I don't have a good read on them right now. I really don't. I just don't want to dismiss them out of hand just because a familiar name like the Rams are once again doing Rams bullshit.
Yeah. Well, one thing that what you just said, Chris, made me think of is Week 18 going to be for NFL Coach of the Year?
Well, it depends.
It should be, but I just don't think. I've asked people about this, and the prevailing factor seems to be that the fact that the defense has all this injuries is just not lifting the boat for Dan Campbell enough. Whereas because everyone thought the Vikings were going to be absolutely trash this year,
yeah,
that it just that's raising O'Connell's boat so much higher than Dan's.
Honestly, I want Kevin O'Connell to win it
Because it's a curse.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to win any award that Kevin Stefanski won, but at least, I mean, even twice, right? But my AFC team.
Wait. Explain why you want Kevin O'Connell to win it. Is it that? Was it just that?
Dude, that's just. I mean, that's gonna be a Dan Campbell in his bathroom mirror moment where it's like, screw you, Kevin.
No, I do think whoever wins the NFC North is going to win Coach of the Year.
Yeah, and I think at this point, like, I don't know, Offensive Player of the Year is going to be an interesting discussion. There's part of me that thinks that MVP is still like there is some discussion to be had between. I mean, the
Patriots opened it up.
The legitimate numbers that Lamar Jackson has put up, and I know it's the voter fatigue, and I know it's like everybody wants to just see him have playoff success before they vote for him for MVP, which is the most backwards thinking. But like he has insane, incredible numbers this year. Like he is leading in terms of passing and rushing yards. Like I mean, and then a lot of the advanced metrics too. He's just off the charts, good and efficient and crazy. Yeah.
I would like to still. I mean, I know he's not going to get it, but I know this is going to like start a discussion with the Ben Baldwins of the world who get way too hung up on the word value instead of just appreciating the MVP for just having most outstanding season. But I would probably still give some votes to Saquon Barkley for what he's done and this incredible. Like I do think he's at this point he is more valuable to Hurts. I mean to that Eagles team than Hurts.
I would certainly vote for him over Hurts, but I don't know if I'd vote him over another quarterback.
I would. I would. He's just,
My AFC team. My AFC team is the Broncos.
That could surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense is pretty damn good,
and it feels just like Sean Payton's done a really good job of like trying to get Bo Nix to not make mistakes because that defense is so good. And it's like, I mean, they had the Chiefs. I mean, it took a blocked field goal, right? Like they have all these like close losses.
I'm with you.
I feel they are at least a year away, but they're absolutely getting there. And I feel like my AFC team, considering I feel like they're a little bit ahead of schedule and it's playing with some house money, but it is the Chargers. Like they don't have the horses to really mount this offense, but like, man, Justin Herbert looks a hell of a lot better in a more balanced offense set. Man, I love the Joe Alt pick they made. That is a Harbaugh man to a T, and might be my favorite tackle draft prospects since Penei Sewell. Like, they got that win over the Broncos. They had a free kick, which hasn't been done in
50 years. Almost.
Plus-
50 years. And like, I mean, do they have to have some work on the defense? Sure. Is there no one who can catch the ball besides Lad McConkey? Absolutely. But there's just something about them, man, where I'm like, I see the blueprint being laid, and I like it.
Do you sometimes look at them and go, man, who's got it better than them?
I'm not doing that.
Oh man.
Nobody!
You attacked that with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind, Jeremy.
All right. I think it's time to get out of here.
Let Malik freak. Let Malik freak.
To be clear, when I say go Pack go, that does not apply to tomorrow. Let them burn a fiery death tomorrow. That's fine.
It's time for Spencer Rattler, baby. Let Spence rattle.
They should start Malik this week. And just see, like, hey, could this work for next week?
We need to give Jordan Love rest.
That's right. They're not playing for anything.
Hey, look, I'm just saying that Texas, they use 2 quarterbacks. Matt LaFleur can't get his brain wrapped around that. Too many fans interrupting his study time.
It's all great points.
Okay.
Think about it. Think about it, LaFleur. All right. We're going to get out of here. Next time you'll see us live, it's probably going to be a while. So sorry. We will do the Madden Sim. I get back Saturday night. So we'll probably do Madden Sim Monday morning, if you're wondering about that. That's it. I got nothing else for you guys.
I mean, how
Happy holidays,
unfortunate.
everybody. We're not going to see you guys during the holiday.
Happy holidays.
It's true. Everybody had a better holiday than Matt LaFleur in the year 2004 when Dodgeball came out.
I feel like I'll have some good holidays. I got at least 2 bottles of rum from coworkers, so
There you go.
I'll suck up. What is this? Are the Grand Rapids Griffins wearing Lions black jerseys?
Basically, I saw those earlier. I thought it was AI generated, and then I found out that it wasn't, and it pissed me off for some reason.
Is this like when the Kings switched to silver and black because of the Raiders?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and because of NWA.
Yeah.
Happy
you know what's-
holidays,
I mean-
everybody.
I don't usually talk hockey, but like that's pissed me off more than anything. The Kings are going back to like, yeah, we've have colors stolen from the Raiders and a logo stolen from the Lakers.
Jeremy loves the LA Kings. He wants to stay on the stream and talk about the LA Kings for another 6
Andre
minutes
Kopitar?
because he holds them in such high regard.
No. Happy holidays.
I do like their jerseys, though. I kind of have one that was custom made for our roller hockey team.
Oh, the truth emerges.
Wow.
Anyways,
Cali boy.
says the guy in the leopard print. How dare
No!
you?
That's a Vegas thing, motherfucker. And you know it.
LA, Vegas, they're 2 hours apart.
Or but Vegas could also be Miami.
What are we
Point
arguing
is,
about?
I'm trolling
know.
a lot of different, or Jersey. Point is, I'm trolling a lot of different scumbag DNA with us right now.
I'm talking about like cattle stacks just randomly. Is like Christian Bale, best Batman. What's going on?
We're just everyone get your hottest take out right now before Christmas and the New Year. Just throw it out there right now. I want to see it in all the chats.
Luigi did nothing wrong.
That's such a hot take.
That's not a hot take.
This is a very Festivus thing. Let's air the grievances out right before we stop.
I'm gonna have I don't have time for a Festivus column, but we are on Festivus Eve right now, and I've got a lot of problems with you people.
Alien Vivitor, I can't say that I disagree with the fact that the Detroit Vipers had fantastic everything.
Someone get me a Detroit Vipers jersey for Christmas. That's what I want.
Oh, if that makes it to the P.O. box, what a treat.
That'd be great.
Caleb Williams, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Did you just watch what Jake
Ooh,
Daniels did?
wow.
Stop. Get out of here.
Who do you think is
Hey,
going to win?
it's-
Is it? I don't know if Jaden's got it locked
think
up.
it-
You think he does?
I think it's
Bo
him.
Nix?
I think. No, Washington, I think, is going to play a big factor in that.
Do we know who's going to be the now that I haven't thought about this much since Aiden Hutchinson got hurt, but like who's the defensive player of the year?
I don't care. Should have been
Chris-
Aiden.
I'm okay.
I'm kidding,
Aiden, we could look it up, and Aiden Hutchinson's probably still like top 10 in pressures.
Yeah, right now I think the betting favorite is T.J. Watt, but I'm kind of tired of that. Yeah. Honestly, you were talking Broncos. I'd probably maybe think about Patrick Surtain right now.
I bet Goofa's
Or Myles
will
Garrett.
get people riled up. Conies are bedded with shredded cheese on top.
I don't think any conies are good.
Alien Vivitor. Coney dogs are better than wings?
Wow, that's wrong.
That's very hot take. I'm
It's
glad you got that out in 2024.
You know what? I'm going to get this out because once again, someone was on my ass about it. But like, it is fine to add a little ketchup to your hot dog. Don't please people on their condiments.
I eat hot dogs with ketchup on it.
You should. If it's tasty, it's fine. I don't understand these people who like act like you have created a sin by putting. It's already a shitty piece of meat. Put whatever on it.
Omnimon, I agree with that take.
What?
I think mott stacks are better than potato
This
skins.
isn't even a hot
That's
take.
no.
That's correct.
That is not true.
I don't think I've ever had like even baseline level good potato skins.
Oh, I love potato skins.
I always got them from where was it? Was it TGI
Potatoes or
Fridays?
just
TGI Fridays, I
Okay.
think.
Fridays had the
You
potato
can't.
skins. Yeah.
You have to judge that against TGI Fridays mozzarella sticks.
Okay, but again, like the floor is just so much higher for mozzarella sticks, right? But it's the fact that the ceiling isn't high for mozzarella
Yeah.
sticks.
Okay. Yeah.
But with potato skins, where are you gonna get craft potato skins? Who's chefing up like a lovely like a dressed up potato skin? Like everybody's like, get out of here.
No. If you want to actually have potato, they'll serve them all gratin or or mashed or something like that. They're never serving it as the
what's great?
skins.
Give me a baked potato. I love baked potatoes.
Twice baked potatoes. Elite.
I think.
I'll go ahead and.
No, go ahead.
Have
I
you
was
never
gonna
had?
say,
Have you never had a twice baked potato? Is that what you're about to tell me,
I don't know if I have.
Ryan? We're gonna go get ramen and then somewhere where they have twice baked potatoes, and have a hell of a day.
That's a very starchy night.
It's fine.
Pineapple is fine to go on pizza.
Damn right it is. It's delicious. Pair it with something spicy.
New York style pizza is very overrated.
Ooh.
I'm half and half on that. I think he's right that it's overrated, but like only because New York people are annoying about it. I do think it is my preferred way to have a slice.
I don't. I have my take, but I don't want to say it.
Say it! Say it! Festivus!
Are you dishing out on Detroit pizza? Are you going to shit on it?
I was gonna say that I think Chicago deep dish is better
Than Detroit or New York or all.
than all other kinds of pizza.
I've yet to have like one of the headlining best. I've never had Luminati's. I've never had the other one.
Oh crap! Sorry, hold on.
I don't feel like I have a strong take on Chicago style, but you are definitely pissing people off in the chat.
Oh, I know for sure. Yeah, no, you can fire me. It's cool.
I was going to say now that I'm having to hold this camera because it fell. If I want to do a Christmas gift for Jeremy, I still have this. Jonas Knox once gave me some Lou Malnati's pizzas. I think I still have the catalog here. I could get you. It might be a little late for the holidays now, but we could easily hook you up with the Lou Malnati's.
I'm not trolling. Like, I think it's so good. I think about it all the time, and I think about how it's nearly impossible to like go find it somewhere here in Michigan.
Well,
it's so.
They
heavy
opened up
for
a place
me,
and then it closed down.
No,
Did they open up a Giordano's or something and close it down or something?
it did. Yeah, I think
In
that's
Detroit,
right.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's one. See, like they're in like really like inconvenient places, like in Holland. What are you laughing at?
Nah, I'm not gonna repeat what I saw.
I see. I'm gonna disagree with you. Well, here's my hot take to XJ Snake. I don't understand Italian beef, and I never will.
Italian beef. There's nothing wrong with Holland. I'm saying it's just far away from me.
All right. Did we get all the food takes out that we felt like we needed to?
Vanilla is superior to chocolate.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Look, just because it became like, have you had like good old fashioned vanilla? Well, that's how you go. That stuff is great.
I'm so hungry right now, guys. This was a bad
I
idea.
know.
Let's all just commit to a Taco Bell run. Let's go get their dumb chicken nuggets and just say how they are.
I had Jersey Mike's. I will get back to you on a Monday with that. I want to start edit this and go to bed.
That's what I'm getting. There you go. There we go.
I'm not going to do it. I'm sorry. I'm bailing already.
No. I had Jersey Mike's.
I got to ride a plane. I don't want anyone to deal with my Taco Bell chicken nugget farts, all right? That's
Good Lord.
That's not
Listen,
fair.
it's halftime of the Sunday Night Football game. Can we go already?
Yeah, we should go. All right, guys. I mean, we had to go out on food talk.
Bridget Case is live, by the way, if we want to raid her. We haven't raided her in a while.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
On Twitch, for the Twitch people.
Yeah, sorry, you don't get to go anywhere, YouTube, because...
Your turb.
Your turb. Is that right? Is it just Bridget Case?
Yeah. I guess a lot of people liked multiple people in Twitch liked my take on vanilla. I see you.
Yeah, they're sickos. You're banned over there, Goof? What did you do, Goof?
I'm getting 10 of these nuggies.
They're new, all right? And apparently they're tortilla. Like the breading is made out of tortilla. I don't know. People have actually said good things about it. I honestly don't have much of an interest in them, but... because I don't.
You can make chicken breading out of quite a few things. I did it one time out of Cheez-Its. Better than you'd think.
I'm not gonna knock it.
It was good crunch, if nothing else.
All right. If you're on Twitch, we're gonna raid Bridget Case's stream. She's a sports commentator, former NFL cheerleader, just an all-around good person and fun stream to hang out in. If you're on YouTube, you can jump into Twitch right now and join the fun, or you can just turn your computer off and go watch Sunday Night Football, or look at the standings and be like, hey, look, the Lions are still there. And that's fun. Or go to pridedetroit.com and read a whole bunch of stuff. That's good too. Synergy. All right, we'll see you guys later. Bye, everybody.
What? It just dropped.
That's okay. Hey,
That's fine.
we're still live on YouTube. Go watch the locker room video. It just dropped. Okay?
Lock your celly.
And then come tell us how much you liked it.